Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to Let's Start Story on What If Naruto Had Secret Clue Death of Madara Part 1. So do 4 blue hearts comment, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video and please share with your friends and watch till end. Also check out Patreon for I have upload Harry x Hermione uncensored spicy version, link in description. With Naruto, it was over. He had finally defeated Madara Uchiha in their final battle. He and the elder Uchiha had a fight right outside of Konohagakure. Henceforth why the forest area they were in had destroyed trees and multiple craters surrounding them. Right now Naruto Uzumaki was using a tree to support him. While Naruto stood, his opponent was using a tree to keep his head up while the rest of his body laid flat on the ground. It's over, Madara Uchiha, Naruto declared while looking at the fallen Uchiha. He had to admit that this was his hardest battle. He was nearly out of chakra. He had multiple cuts, bruises on his body, and his clothes were torn in a few places. Right now he was trying to gather sage chakra but it wasn't working. His body was too weak, he could barely focus without feeling pain. Right now he was hoping that someone, heck anyone from the Ninja Alliance would come to help him. I guess you're right, Naruto Namikaze. You're barely standing and here I am on the ground. Madara replied as he had come to accept that he was going to die, but he was going to die with a bang. So why go through all this, Madara? Why start an entire war over Jinchuriki? Naruto Styoned, hoping to at least get an answer or two out of Madara before he passed. The world needs a madman, Naruto, I take that back. The elemental continents needed a villain and I gave it to them. Madara answered while looking at his opponent. A villain? Naruto asked with an interest in his voice. In this world, there were bad people but none that would be labeled as villains. I mean, a villain is something you would hear in movies or television shows but not necessary in real life. Yes, a villain, someone who thinks outside the box. I mean, being a shinobi is fun but being a villain, a person with no morals, alliances, or cares in the world. That's the type of life I chose and it seemed to have gone well for me. Until you showed up and stopped me. Madara explained. Well, I did stop you, Naruto commented, seeing as he beat the legendary Madara Uchiha in a fight to the death. Indeed you did, but right now it is my time to save you, Madara proclaimed, getting Naruto's attention. Save me, what are you talking about? Naruto asked in a confused tone, not sure as to how his toughest opponent was going to save him. Face facts, Naruto. With you and Killer Bee being the only two Jinchuriki left, what do you think is going to happen? How long will peace last until another me shows up with the exact same plan? History has always found a way to repeat itself, Naruto. I thought you would have learned that by now. Madara answered the blonde. Well, I'll just have to stop them, just like I did you, Naruto replied in a confident tone he could muster. Funny, but you forgot one thing, Naruto. You can't live forever, Madara stated as Naruto knew he had a point. So what did you mean by saving me? Naruto asked as he felt chakra from who he guessed were his allies coming in his direction. It wouldn't be that long now until reinforcements arrived and he could end this war once and for all. By sending you away, Naruto. Into another world where no one knows you. A world where you can be free. Free of being a shinobi. Madara answered, gaining a look of indifference from Naruto for a brief second. I mean, a world where there could possibly be peace without the need of fighting. So nice, but Naruto quickly remembered the duty he had here. Too bad your plan won't work, Madara. I have too much to live for here. Besides, I know you're out of chakra, Naruto replied to the elder Uchiha, who laughed at his comment. Again, my opponent, you're wrong. I have been in this world longer than you and this is where that experience comes into play, Madara stated as Naruto heard a click come from somewhere. He was shocked to hear Madara was chewing something. Fear had taken over Naruto as he felt Madara's chakra rise. You had a solder pill in your mask, Naruto muttered in shock, getting a nod from Madara. And to think I could have used it anytime during our battle. I chose not to, seeing as I knew it was going to come down to this, Naruto. This final duel between you and me is going to end with me being a hero, Madara declared as Naruto once again was trying to gather some type of sage chakra but couldn't. His body was simply too weak at the moment. So what are you going to do? Naruto questioned, hoping that the elder Uchiha was just bluffing. Like I said, young Namikaze, I'm going to send you away, but before I do that, promise me something, Madara said to Naruto, who was trying to move but just couldn't. Naruto decided to promise the dying elder something. Seeing as he was going to die soon. Who knows, maybe he had finally turned a new leaf since he was about to pass away. Okay. Naruto replied as he felt the multiple chakra signatures were getting close to their locations. He had hoped that they would be able to make it to his location before Madara could do something. Look me in my eye and promise me that you wouldn't forget me. Madara told the young sage. Fine, Naruto replied while not looking directly into his eyes. At least look me in the eye, Naruto. We're men here and the least you can do is show some respect and look at me face to face. Madara shouted as Naruto looked him in the eyes. It seems Itachi's left Naruto a gift as well. I hope he doesn't think he's the only one with that ability. Madara thought while he started to chant, getting Naruto's attention. Is he chanting hand signs? Naruto asked himself while keeping his eyes locked on Madara. Enjoy your new life, Naruto Namikaze. You're going out like an Uchiha while I'm going out like a Senju. Funny, isn't it? Madara replied to Naruto, who was trying to move out of range of whatever attack Madara was going to use. Move was the only thought Naruto had while trying to move his weakened body. This is goodbye, Naruto. Keep your promise now, were the final words Madara said to Naruto before he felt his entire body started to shift and turn. I have to get him out of here. His allies are almost here. Madara thought while keeping his focus on Naruto. I can't even do anything. I feel so useless. Naruto thought as he's been trying to move but couldn't. I guess this is goodbye, my friends. Hopefully we can meet up once again. As he felt his entire body was being sucked into what he could describe as a vortex. It's done. Madara thought as Naruto Namikaze was now off this world hopefully and would be able to have a new start at life. Don't worry, Ayane, my beautiful wife, I'm coming. Also Hitomi, you don't have to cry for me anymore. Daddy's coming so we can be a family once again. Madara thought while thinking about being united with his wife and daughter who died due to his enemies killing his family to prove a point. Hitomi only being 13 while his wife was in her mid-30s, the life of a shinobi is a dangerous one indeed. Well, look who's here. Madara announced as he was now surrounded by the 5 cages themselves, along with multiple shinobi who accompanied them. Where's Naruto Uzumaki? Madara Tsunade asked while looking at the elder Uchiha. I don't know a Naruto Uzumaki, but I do know a Naruto Namikaze if you're interested. Madara answered while shocking almost everyone that Naruto was the son of the Yondaime. I knew it was something about him. A thought to himself while remembering his attitude. I guess that's where he gets his looks from. May thought to herself while remembering his appearance. So he was Minato's son after all. I knew it, of course. After all, there are not too many blondes in Konoha after all. Which leads me to ask who Minato's wife was. Unoki thought to himself while pondering his beard. It was bound to get out eventually. Tsunade thought to herself while thinking of a way to deal with the aftermath of Naruto's heritage getting out in the open. I guess that explains where you get your determination from, Naruto. Gah. Eric concluded while thinking about how Naruto was able to stop him. That still doesn't answer my question, Tsunade said with anger in her tone. I sent him away, Madara said in a simple tone drawn. Looks of confusion from everyone present. What do you mean send him away? A voice questioned as Sasuke Uchiha appeared a few feet away from the group of allied shinobi. Like I said, my grandson, I sent him away. Madara answered once again. Of all the smart moves Sasuke could have made, why did he choose to come here? You can't just send him away. Sakura said in disbelief. Naruto had helped finish the war only to be sent away by Madara Uchiha. I did it a few seconds before you guys showed up. Madara replied as his eyes shift back to normal. He guessed whatever was left of his chakra was just about gone. Where did you send him? Sasuke asked in an aggravated tone. How dare he send away the one person he wanted to fight the most? It was like someone killing Itachi and it wasn't him. You just don't do such a thing. I don't know, and that's the beauty of it. Now if you don't mind, I'm going to die now. Madara stated before closing his eyes. Sakura and Shizune, get his body and take him to the medical ward in Konohagakure at once. Tsunade ordered as the 2 medics were hesitant at first before getting the body. I want every shinobi here to find Naruto Namikaze. You're thinking with your heart, Tsunade. Not with your mind. A calm voice called out as Mifune came to the battlefield. What are you talking about? Tsunade asked, not getting why he would make that comment. He's right. Unoki started off before continuing his point. We can't afford to waste our forces on searching for one man. Right now we have to help our injured shinobis. We have funerals to plan and medals to give out. Once we do that, I believe we can start searching for Naruto. Get Sasuke Uchiha before he leaves. A ordered as the shinobi forces had surrounded the last Uchiha. And talk. Him to Konohagakure so he can be put on trial. Mei added on as Sasuke knew he couldn't get away. Suigetsu and Jugo weren't even here to back him up this time. Fine, it's not like I have a choice in the matter. Sasuke replied, seeing no point in trying to fight 5 cages and an army without any backup. That's one pain down. A commented, seeing Sasuke Uchiha having chakra seals placed on him. Now let's head back to our respective villages for the time being. We each have funerals to prepare. Mei stated, getting a nod from her fellow cages. Look Tsunade, if you need any help, Sunagakure will always be there. Gaara stated in his usual monotone voice before leaving the battlefield with Temari and Kenkiro beside him. I feel the same way after this entire war has taken a toll on me. A commented before leaving with Darui and Samui who were behind him. Well, I was going to talk to you about an alliance before the war started. So whenever you're ready to talk, let me know. May I? Informed Tsunade before leaving with Ao and Chojuro beside her. Look Tsunade, I know our villages haven't gotten along in the past years, but this war has shown that even enemies could work together for a common goal. So like the Mizukage said, whenever you're ready, let me know. Unoki stated before leaving with Kuretsuchi at his side. Naruto, wherever you may be, I just hope that you're okay. Tsunade thought to herself before leaving to attending to her village. Tears falling down her face as she started her walk. I'm sorry my king, but I cannot allow your reputation be ruined by me. Air the thoughts of an Africa-American male with short-cut blonde hair, blue eyes and a strong build. He possesses a black eel tattoo that runs across his back and along his arms. He also had webbed hands, webbed feet, and a pair of gills on his neck. He was wearing a skin-tight full-body red and blue swimsuit which exposed his arms and feet. On his back was something that could easily be confused for as a regular backpack, but to him it was a water pack which held 2 rods. At the moment he was swimming away from Atlantis. Maybe some of the pressure about me will be off you now, my king. I just hope that I am able to continue doing good deeds like you are always doing. Who knows, I may be able to see Garth again. The male thought to himself as he kept swimming upwards. Garth was his only fry. And besides the king to see him for himself and not his father. He was brought out of his thoughts when he saw a blonde with spiky hair appear a few feet away from him. From the looks of his cloths, he appeared to have been in a long battle. Where did he come from? The male asked himself while seeing the body float up. Whoever he is, I have to help him. He thought to himself while swimming faster towards the blonde. Everyone needs a day off, including former assassins. A female thought while sitting in a lounge chair on the beach. She had long black hair and green eyes which were covered by black sunglasses. She was wearing a pair of green swim trunks with a black dragon on the side of it. She also wore a green tank top. On her feet was a pair of black swim shoes. Maybe I should take Brother Blood up on his offer. Being enrolled in his HIVE academy would give me a chance to have it easy for once. Depending on how long the HIVE academy would last. She thought before looking out into the ocean. She narrowed her eyes when she saw blonde hair in the middle of ocean. Who or what is that? She asked herself while looking around to see if anyone was going to make an effort to help the person. I guess I can do a heroic deed today. She thought to herself before taking off her sunglasses and sprinted towards the ocean. Her first thoughts were to just walk on the water, but with so many people out here she would have to just swim over there. I hope they're worth it. She thought to herself before going into the water and started to swim towards her target at a fast speed. With Naruto. Naruto felt himself surrounded by water. He assumed that he was in an ocean of some sorts. His first thought was to swim to shore, but he was too weak. He guessed Madara's technique worked after all. A new life, huh? I might as well get the most out of it. Naruto thought to himself while accepting the fact that he was in a new world. He wasn't going to feel sorry for himself since this was a risk he took when he became a shinobi. Although this wasn't on the brochure at the academy, Naruto did his part and protected Konoha to the best of his abilities, and no one could take that away from him. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when he felt himself being pulled by something or someone. You okay? He heard someone or something trying to get his attention. He saw it was a black male was helping him get to shore. What did you just say? Naruto asked, trying to understand the person helping him out. I think he's speaking Japanese, but I don't know that language. This is going to be difficult. The male thought to himself while trying to pull Naruto towards shore. Is he alright? A voice asked with concern as the two males saw a female approach them. He speaks Japanese, but his injuries are pretty badly. The male informed, getting a nod from the female. I can speak Japanese. Here, let me help you get him to shore. Then we can take him to the hospital. The female stated as the male nodded in agreement. Where are we going? Naruto asked, hoping to get an answer. We're taking you to shore. Once there, we'll take you to the hospital. The female informed him, gaining a weak nod from Naruto. What is your name along with the guy helping me? Naruto asked, wanting to know who they were. What's your name? He wants to know. The female asked the other male helping her at the moment. Calder. He answered, using the name his former king gave him for situations like this. My name is Jade, she said, introducing herself to him. Your names? Naruto asked, making sure his question wasn't forgotten. I'm Jade and this is Calder, Jade replied as they were almost to shore. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said, introducing himself to Jade, who nodded. She then went to tell Calder Naruto's name. We're here, Calder announced as they had made it to land. Calder and Jade pulled Naruto to shore. The two were shocked to see the injuries he had on him. Blood was going down his right arm, and they noticed he had a few broken bones as well. Someone call 911. We have an injured person, Jade shouted as a lifeguard came over and checked on Naruto. We saw you go in and rescue him. The paramedics are on their way now, the lifeguard replied to the two who nodded. A minute later, the paramedics made their way to where Naruto was. The two picked up his body, which was heavy, and loaded him onto the stretcher. Once on, the two took him to the ambulance and loaded him in. They immediately hooked him up to a few machines that would check his vitals. Sorry, but you two can't come, the paramedic informed Jade and Calder, who weren't moving anytime soon. We saved him. Jade started off as her tone let them know right away she wasn't taking no for an answer. It's only right we see this through. Jade wasn't one to go to hospitals due to her best friend's mother's unfortunate accident which left her paralyzed. Ever since then, Jade wouldn't really go to hospitals, but something about Naruto. She knew she had to see this through. I agree with the lady on this one. I don't want to have a guilty conscience after all this is over. Calder added on. All right, hop in, the second paramedic ordered, seeing as arguing would get them nowhere. Step on it, the first paramedic shouted to the driver as they were now driving to Jump City General Hospital. Hospital. Paramedics rushed Naruto into the hospital. The doctors and nurses were shocked to see a body have so many broken bones. I mean, sure, there were a few cases where someone was attacked by a super villain, but this was different. The male looked like he had been in some sort of war and then some. Get him to the emergency room, stat. A doctor shouted as they took him to the emergency room in order to get started. You two stay here in the waiting room while we start the surgery on your friend. Another doctor informed to the two who nodded and sat down in the waiting room. Emergency room. August 5th, 3:15 p.m. Est. The emergency room was prepared for situations like this as they immediately took off Naruto's cloths and got to work by placing multiple wires on him in order to monitor his body. Look at this, a nurse announced while waving her hands in order to get their attention. They all looked at the monitor and were shocked to see some type of red energy was trying to heal him. It's healing him, another nurse remarked as she was shocked to see this happen. When it came to metahumans, none of them had the simple ability to heal themselves, but this male was a relief to all of them. That doesn't mean a thing. We still have to pull him out of this condition, a doctor stated as they went to work on Naruto's body in hopes of making it better. Waiting room. 5:25 p.m. Est. The two had been waiting for about 6 hours now. They were trying to pass the time by trying to get to know one another. The two had learned a few things about one another. The basic things like dreams, food, and What they like to do in their free time. So what do you think is taking them so long? Jade asked while pacing in the waiting room. He did have a lot of injuries. The ones we probably saw on the beach were only external. Calder answered. Where did he get them from? Jade asked as she wanted to know more about Naruto Uzumaki. I wish I knew myself, Jade. I mean, 1 minute I'm swimming and then the next thing I know he appears. Calder replied. As the doors to the emergency room opened, the two saw multiple doctors and nurses walk out the room. So how did it go? Jade asked with concern in her voice, hoping that her good deed for the day saved Naruto's life. It went well, but the shocking thing is that his injuries seemed to heal on its own. The only thing we had to do really was help put the bones back in place. The doctor explained to the two as they were shocked. How did Naruto heal on his own unless he was some type of hero or villain? But even then the two never heard or seen him before. Interesting, was the only thing Calder could say at the time. Naruto had to possibly be a meta-human for his body to heal itself. Mateem and I had the same reaction when we started the surgery. We were just in awe at the fact that his body was using some type of red energy to heal on its own. In fact, steam was coming off of some of the cuts the boy seemed to sustain. I have to say that the boy is blessed. The doctor explained on as it wasn't every day you see things like that happen. Can we go see him? Calder asked, wanting to go see the person he saved. He's asleep right now. His body has been through a lot today and needs its rest, but you can come back first thing in the morning. The doctor answered, getting a nod from Jade and Calder. We'll be here first thing. Jade replied as the doctor gave both of them a card which said when visiting hours were. Well, see you tomorrow, the doctor said before leaving the two alone. Hey Jade, Calder called out, getting her attention. Is it all right if I accompany you back to your car? You said you left it at the beach parking lot. You said you needed a place to stay, seeing as you were kicked out of your house. So you can move in with me for a bit. Jade replied as the two left the hospital together. With Naruto, he was glad that Jade and Calder were able to get him back to land. Let alone a hospital. He wondered what they were doing at the moment, seeing as the doctor said he couldn't have any visitors until tomorrow. Kyuubi, are you there? Naruto asked as he appeared in his mindscape. Of course, I am, Kyuubi ans. Word as she now had a newfound respect for the Namikaze who was able to defeat Madara Uchiha in combat. Do you have any clue as to where we are? Naruto asked once again. I would have told you by now. Kyuubi replied as they had no clue as to where they were. Do you think we'll be able to get back to the elemental continents? Naruto questioned the fox. I'm not sure, but I suggest we make the most out of this. This second chance at life, I suppose. Kyuubi answered truthfully. I'll talk to you later, Kyuubi. Naruto said before leaving his mindscape to get some sleep. First Itachi leaves a gift for him and now Madara. I can only hope that he is able to use them when the time calls for it. Kyuubi thought to herself before falling asleep, not realizing something had appeared in Naruto's mindscape. So this is Naruto's mind, huh? I would have thought it would be more. I don't know, bigger perhaps. Oh well, I better get used to it as I'm not leaving anytime soon. They thought before disappearing once again. August 6, 9:20 a.m. Est. Morning in Jump City has arrived for both Calder and Jade, who were now at the hospital waiting to see Naruto for the first time. Calder was wearing a pair of black pants, a pair of blue and black shoes, seeing as he could not walk around barefoot all the time, and a blue jacket with a red shirt. Jade was now wearing a pair of black baggy pants, a green blouse, and black and green tennis shoes. Follow me, you two. I'll take you to see your friend. A doctor announced as the two followed him to room 50. The doctor they were with spoke both English and Japan. Say so he could communicate with Naruto just fine. Well, we're here, the doctor said as he let the two in to see that Naruto Uzumaki was doing push-ups, shocking the trio. You should be in bed. The doctor stated, being the first person to recover from being shocked. I'm fine now, doc, Naruto replied while continuing his exercise. You had broken bones, external and internal bleeding, the doctor ranted before being cut off. And I'm fine now. So can I leave the hospital now? Naruto asked while standing up. Jade and Calder were able to see his physique and they guessed he must have been a warrior of some sorts. Just sign these forms and you can leave, the doctor answered as he handed Naruto the forms, who guessed to sign where the X's were. Have a good day, Naruto Uzumaki, the doctor said before leaving the room. So Naruto, Jade started off getting the blonde's attention. Do you have any family, friends, or relatives you could stay with? Sadly no, I'm just on my own, Naruto replied, getting a nod from the two people who saved him. You can stay with me until you're able to get on your feet. Jade offered to Naruto, who shook his head no. Thanks, but I want to travel before I settle down though. Thanks for the offer though. Naruto replied as Jade told Calder what was going on. If you need any help, just call me, okay? Jade said, giving Naruto a small card with her phone number. Don't worry, I will. Naruto replied as Calder gave him a bag filled with cloths. Calder has moved in with me. Last night he went to get some of his cloths from a friend who brought them to him. I hope you can fit them. Jade informed him as the two exited the room so Naruto could get dressed. Naruto was now wearing a pair of jeans, a pair of white tennis shoes, and a gray polo shirt. They fit just fine, Jade. Tell Calder I said thank you. Naruto said as he liked his new cloths. Stay safe, Naruto. Calder said to Naruto, who nodded in acknowledgement. Calder says stay safe, I say the same thing. Jade informed Naruto, who wished them the best. The two left Naruto, so now the blonde-haired shinobi was now free. Don't worry, Jade and Calder. I have a feeling we're going to cross paths again. Believe it. Naruto thought to himself before going out to explore Jump City. At least that's what the Japanese doctor told him, that it was the name of the location he was in. First things first, I have to learn this language. The doctor gave me directions as to where I could learn the language for free. Hopefully it won't take too long. Naruto thought while holding a sheet of paper which had directions as to where the building was. Time to start this new life. Naruto thought once more before going to the building with hopes of learning this language. With Jade, 10:05 a.m. Est. She was home by herself at the moment. Calder was out in the city at the moment, leaving her to herself. I'm losing my edge. I mean, first I invite a person to live with me and now I'm thinking about letting another complete stranger move in with me as well. I really need a job or something. Jade thought to herself as she saw an eagle outside her home. She recognized the eagle and went outside her house and went towards the eagle. The eagle had a small scroll on its leg. Once Jade took it, the eagle flew away. Jade opened the scroll and read it. A thief mission, huh? Before reading the details for the mission. For a gem in the museum downtown. It's too easy, but I need something to do. Jade thought to herself before going into her basement. Once there, she pressed a few keys on a keypad on her wall. The entire room changed. On one wall there was an assortment of different weapons. Another wall was filled with different liquids. While the wall in front of her showed her costume she used on missions. She walked over to the wall in front of her and picked up a red and white cat mask. Time for Cheshire to come out and play. She muttered to herself before suiting up and leaving her house through a tunnel she made for herself, which lead to abandoned warehouse downtown. I'm so happy the basement will stay locked until I come back. I don't need Calder knowing about this. Jade thought to herself while exiting the warehouse and making her way to the museum. With Calder, 11:25 a.m. Est. He was now at the Jump City Museum. He was able to get a job as working as a part of the security force there. He was tall. That this museum had been prone to heist by villains. Calder thought of it as a challenge, seeing as most of the time when villains were to attack, everyone usually cleared out the museum, so that way he could use his abilities to combat whoever attacked before the Teen Titans showed up. I think the Teen Titans have enough members already. Besides, I think they would probably tell Aquaman about my location. Calder thought while making his walk around the museum. He saw that Naruto was attending a tour the museum offered in order to learn about the history of Jump City for newcomers. Most villains don't attack until night time. Right now we have it easy. A security guard told him as the two were walking side by side patrolling the building. Are you sure about that? A female voice asked as the two turned and saw a female wearing a red and white cat mask. Their attire was a dark green kimono which had long green sleeves which covered her arms. On her feet was a pair of black sandals. She was standing on a rope from one of the exhibits. It's Cheshire. Run for it. The security guard shouted as the museum was clearing out, leaving Cheshire and Calder in the museum. You may want to run now. Cheshire suggested to Calder, who shook his head no. Sorry to inform you, but I do not run, Calder replied as his eel tattoo started to glow a light blue. If you think you can take me then bring it. Cheshire taunted as she hasn't really been able to let loose in a while. What do you think you're doing? A person called, getting Cheshire's attention. She looked around and saw it was Naruto who was talking to her. What is he doing here? Forget that, what does he thinks he's doing? Jade asked herself while looking at Naruto. Naruto, Calder thought while looking at the blonde who was in a fighting stance. What are you doing? Calder asked himself. I guess I found a villain the doctor told me about. Well, I guess I can test myself against her to see my limits. Naruto thought to himself, as he felt his chakra surge through him. He uses chakra as well, huh? This day is finally getting good. Jade thought to herself while observing Naruto. She rarely used her chakra abilities since she prided herself off her regular skills. Let's do this, Naruto said before disappearing in a blur. He's fast but I can keep up. Jade thought to herself before becoming a blur as well. I can see them but can't keep up with them. I guess I can provide long-range support then. Calder thought to himself while manipulating the water that was in a nearby water fountain. Calder can use water manipulation. Alright, this could work. Naruto thought to himself while going towards Calder who was getting ready to fire the water stream. Calder can manipulate water. Jade thought to herself before being hit by a stream of water. Way to go, Calder, Naruto said in Japanese. Calder guessed Naruto was complimenting judging by the way he had his thumb up. As much as I would love to fight you too. I have other places to be, so until we meet again. Cheshire announced as her body started to disappear into thin air. I don't know where she went, Calder said to Naruto as his eel tattoo stopped glowing. I think I know why she left, Naruto replied while pointing behind Calder. Calder turned around to see the Teen Titans a few feet from them. Stop right there, Robin ordered the two who were in the room. Look, I know what it looks like but we were trying to stop Cheshire. Calder replied in a calm tone. Nice try but we all know that Cheshire stays in Steel City. Cyborg informed the two thieves in the room. She was just here. I mean, she is an assassin after all. They have to know when to disappear, Calder stated to the Titans. Naruto saw the Titans approach the two and he reacted. He grabbed Calder and used a shushin to disappear from the museum. They're ninjas. Oh man, that was so cool, Beast Boy exclaimed while looking at the smoke the technique left behind. Who were those two? Raven asked, seeing the blonde being able to disappear into thin air just like that. Whoever they are, they stole the gem that was on display. Robin informed the team as he was looking at the case where the gem was supposed to be. We're going to get them next time, right? Starfire asked the leader of the Teen Titans, who nodded. Definitely, Titans, let's go, Robin ordered as the teenaged superheroes left the museum. End cut. Once Jade saw the Titans approach the scene, she knew she had to get out of there. Jade used a technique to disappear before they saw her. She felt bad that she left Naruto and Calder back there, but she was a thief now. She couldn't afford to be caught by anyone, let alone the Teen Titans. Right now she was in the museum's security room where all the cameras monitors were. She was getting rid of any evidence that not only she was in the museum but Naruto and Calder as well. It was the least thing she could do to her friends. And we're done, Jade thought to herself. As the files were erased from the computer. After she completed her task she went to the roof, seeing as it was easier to run on the roofs rather than the streets. Once she reached the roof she was shocked to see Naruto and Calder were there as well. From their body language the two were trying to explain things to one another but not succeeding, seeing as they both spoke different languages. What are you two doing here? Jade asked Calder in English. Both Naruto and Calder went on guard when they heard Cheshire's voice. What did you just say? Naruto asked while not letting his guard down. What are you two doing here? Jade asked once again, annoyed at the fact she had to repeat herself. Calder decided to answer first, seeing as Naruto didn't say anything yet. Well, after trying to stop you, the Teen Titans showed up and mistook us as a threat. Naruto here used teleporting technique to bring us here, Calder explained as Naruto decided to tell his point of view of things. Me and Calder were approached by these people. I guess they're the Teen Titans the nurses and doctors were talking about yesterday. Anyway, the one wearing the red, yellow, and green costume started to walk towards us. I decided to get me and Calder out of there before they could attack us, Naruto explained, giving his take on what happened. Interesting indeed. Jade commented while thinking of the situation they were in. So where's the gem you stole? Calder asked as Jade shrugged her shoulders. I don't know. Dealing with you two I didn't have the chance to get it. Why? Jade answered as HTING those two caused her to lose her focus on her main objective. So fighting me and Naruto caused her to not steal the gem but the case was empty. Are we being framed? And if so then by who? Calder thought to himself as Jade was having similar thoughts. She didn't have enough time to take the gem but someone else did. Jade, can you take off the costume now? Naruto asked getting Jade's attention. Sorry but I don't know anyone named Jade. Jade replied quickly. Lesson 1 about a person figuring out who you are. Deny it until they give up. Your voice sounds exactly like her. Also your body figure matches hers as well. Naruto explained to Jade who was shocked that Naruto was able to figure all that out as most heroes let alone villains couldn't. What did you mean by body? Jade asked with interest in her voice. Clearly wanting to learn that ability if it were possible. My former sensei taught me a few things. Naruto answered as for a brief second he thought of Jiraiya and his interesting ways of identifying women by just looking at their body. Naruto had to admit if he wasn't set on being Hokage he would have made a great spy. I guess he could pursue that dream now that he wasn't in Konohagakure no more. I guess I can't hide it huh? Jade replied as the two males heard a few clicks as the cat mask was now off her face. Jade, Calder said in shock not believing the person he met yesterday was the famous cat masked assassin. Let's move this conversation to my house. Jade suggested before putting her mask back on and leaping off the roof. The two saw that Sheila nded on a roof that was besides the building. Naruto got the idea and followed Jade with Calder right behind him. Jade's house. 1:15 p.m. Est. Naruto had to admit for a solo assassin she had a nice two-story house. Jade told him and Calder to go through the front door while she would take a secret entrance. The two were waiting in Jade's living room for her to come upstairs. Jade came up a few minutes later and she was dressed in her usual civilian attire being the cloths she wore to the hospital earlier today. Here Naruto. Jade said while giving Naruto a headset. What is this? Naruto asked while holding the small earpiece. It reminded him of the headsets he used when he and Team 7 went to go rescue Gaara. It's a translator so you can understand English and speak it as well. Jade explained as Naruto put the headset on. Naruto pressed the small yellow button on the headset. Is this thing on? Naruto asked in English getting a nod from both Jade and Calder. Okay first things first. Let's explain our past before we start with the present. Calder suggested to the two who nodded in agreement. I'll go first. Naruto stated before taking a deep breath. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I am the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. I was born and raised in Konohagakure for most of my life. I became a shinobi at the age of 12. I was promoted to Jonin status before my final battle with Madara Uchiha who was trying to take the Kyuubi away from me. Kyuubi aka Kurama is a nine-tailed demon that was sealed inside of me when I was born. During my final battle Madara used a technique which sent me into your world. Quote, I'm going to guess that Jonin is a type of rank correct? Calder guessed getting a nod from Naruto. So you've been a ninja since you were 12. That explains a lot about your physique then. Jade commented while looking at Naruto's build for a few seconds. So you're a jailer for this Kyuubi correct? Calder asked getting a nod from Naruto. Me and Kurama are fine so you don't have to worry about it getting out. Naruto replied not wanting to worry his new friends about the demon in his stomach. I'll go next. Jade said to the two who nodded. My name is Jade Nguyen. I was sold into slavery at a young age by my father. From then on I learned how to survive. Lucky for me a person named Wang Chan saw my potential and taught me guerrilla warfare tactics. Later on I learned about poisons from a person named Kruen Musenda. Eventually I went into the League of Shadows before I quit and started my new life here in Jump City. Wasn't Kruen Musenda? Calder started off before Jade realized where he was going with his point. Known as the Spitting Cobra, yes he was. Jade replied with knowledge that her former teacher was famous. So what is the League of Shadows? Naruto questioned not knowing what it was. A League of Assassins Naruto. I'm sure you know what assassins do right? Jade said getting a nod from Naruto. He had dealt with a few assassins before. They were built for speed, and judging by Jade's figure, he wasn't going to doubt her story. Looks like I'm last, huh? Calder said before thinking of his past for a bit. Well, my name is Calder. No last name. I'm from Atlantis. I was Aquaman's apprentice before I decided to venture out on my own. Parents? Naruto asked, hoping it wasn't a sore subject for Calder. Mother, not sure who she is. My father, on the other hand, is a villain, and let's leaves it at that. Calder answered, as he didn't want to get into a talk about his father. Sorry about that. I didn't know it was a sore subject for you. Naruto replied, not knowing it was a sore subject. So Calder's father is a villain, huh? I wonder who it is. Jade asked herself as Calder decided to change the subject. Now that we knew more about one another, let's figure out who stole the gem. Calder stated, starting off the conversation. I don't know who would steal anything, I'm new to this world. Naruto replied, as he hadn't been around in this world long enough to cause any trouble. I know a few people who could, but they mostly live in Japan. Minus one guy who lives here, but he would have said something to me, Jade informed the two, who nodded. Interesting how someone could pull a heist so quickly without us knowing about it. Calder replied to the two, as Jade went over to the living room table and picked up a yellow and black card. If any lesser villain were to know, then they would be enrolled here. Jade started off before showing the two the card. At the HIVE Academy. What is this HIVE Academy anyway? Naruto asked, as he never heard of something like that before. An evil organization that is supposed to take over the world or something like that. Jade answered, as Naruto shook his head. Just what I need, another organization trying to take over the world. Naruto muttered to himself. So what do you suggest we do? Calder asked, wondering how they would get into the academy for villains. We infiltrate the HIVE and get some answers as to what's going on. Jade stated to the two males in the room. Alright, sounds like a mission to me. Naruto said with excitement in his voice, seeing as infiltration was something he was good at when it came to ninja skills. One problem with that plan, me or Naruto was not invited to this HIVE Academy. Besides, we don't really have costume identities like you. Calder explained as to why this plan might fail. We can always make one up, Calder. Naruto suggested to his friend, who shook his head no. Out of what exactly? Most costumes are state of the art after all. Calder said to Naruto and Jade. Well, I do have a friend who could help us out. Jade stated to the two, as that was one problem solved. But what about the invitation? Naruto asked, as this was another problem. It seems Brother Blood is in need of new villains, so that takes care of that. Jade answered, as they could do the plan. Is it possible to meet your friend tomorrow, Jade? Calder questioned, hoping that they would be able to start this plan. I'll make a call tonight and see. Jade answered before going to her cell phone and sending a text message to her friend. Can you guys help me with understanding English? Naruto asked, as the two decided to help him with his English. Throughout the night, the two helped Naruto in hope that he would at least have a basic understanding of the language. August 7th, 9:25 a.m. Est. Naruto and Calder were following Jade into downtown Jump City. She had told the two it was better if they walked rather than take her truck to the location. Naruto was asking multiple questions, most of them dealing with Jump City in general and the different places in it. While they were walking, Jade was informing the two about the city seeing as Calder has lived in Atlantis for a majority of his life. Jade came to a halt when they reached an old movie theater. So this is it? Calder asked while looking at the old theater, taking in the fact that it had wooden boards going across it, an old movie poster hanging on the wall around the building. Yep, if you need a suit, this is where most people come to get it, whether they're good or bad. Jade informed the two as she pressed an old keypad that was beside an old movie poster. The brick wall in front of them started to shift and change until it became a doorway. Talk about underneath the underneath. Naruto thought while stepping through the doorway. Once they were in, the brick wall shifted back into its original state. Well, if it isn't the cat-masked assassin herself, and look, she brought friends. A voice stated, getting Naruto and Calder's attention. The two saw a short woman with black hair wearing a black and white suit. From the design of the suit, it had to be top of the line. Long time no see, Tetsu. Jade replied, greeting the older women with a quick hug. You say that all the time, Jade. I'm starting to think you don't like me anymore. Tetsu said, getting Jade to laugh at her antics. Same old Tetsu. Jade started off before pointing towards Naruto and Calder. Oh, sorry about that. Naruto and Calder meet Tetsu Hitohana, one of the best costume designers in the world, as she introduced the person who would help make their suits today. You're embarrassing me, Jade, Tetsu commented while walking over to Naruto and Calder. These two are in need of a costume, Jade said to the older women who nodded. Very well then, follow me you three, Tetsu ordered as they walked further into the movie theater. Naruto and Calder noticed that with each step they took the lights would come on. They looked around and saw multiple costumes that were framed on the wall. Those are some of my old creations you're looking at, Tetsu informed the two who never been to her shop before. So do we get a say as to what we want in our costumes or what? Naruto questioned as he wasn't sure as to how it worked. I try to incorporate what my clients want, but I do have one rule thought. No capes, Tetsu answered in a strict tone. Why would anyone wear a cape? They get in the way when you're fighting, Naruto replied as he fought a shinobi or two who wore a cape. Can you say huge advantage? Exactly, but you wouldn't believe how many people want capes. They're trying to be like Batman or Superman, who I have to say are able to pull the cape look off nicely. Sue said as she came to a halt when they were in front of a blue door. Okay, you two, go into the room so that my computer can analyze you, Tetsu ordered as Calder went in first, followed by Naruto. Few minutes later the two came out the room. They had to say it felt weird getting your body scanned. Alright Calder, what type of costume do you want exactly? Tetsu questioned as she had a notepad out. I just want a new wetsuit if that's possible. I don't really want a mask, Calder answered as Tetsu was writing down the information on her pad. That sounds pretty easy. Naruto, I believe your name was. Tell me what type of costume you want, Tetsu asked as Naruto thought about it for a few seconds. Black pants, a silver shirt, and a black vest with weight if that's possible. Naruto started off while Tetsu was writing it down. Keep going, Tetsu replied while turning a page in her small notebook. A silver utility belt, black gloves with metal over the knuckles, a silver and black cloak, and if you can I would like a mask. Naruto finished as he put a lot of thought into his costume. It would be similar to the Jonin uniform except with a few differences. What type of mask? Tetsu asked with interest in her voice. Very few of her clients wanted mask. Can I sketch it for you? Naruto asked as Tetsu gave him the pencil and notebook. Naruto started to draw what the mask would look like. 2 minutes later Naruto gave her the notebook back. She looked at the mask and smiled. Very original if I do say so myself, Tetsu commented before continuing. Jade, be a dear and show the M around the building while I get started on my newest creations. This building is just more than a costume shop, so follow me, Jade informed the two as they walked around the entire building. The T.O. were shocked that this building also produced weaponry for some heroes and villains as well. Jade told the two a little bit about Tetsu and how she got into the business of creating costumes. The T.R. ended with them being back where they started. Okay, you three follow me, Tetsu ordered as she led them to 4 chairs. Jade sat down knowing what they were about to do. Naruto and Calder followed suit and sat down. Once everyone sat down the chairs started to move forward. The group of 4 was now staring at a glass screen which had Calder's wetsuit behind it. Calder had to admit that it looked exactly like the one he wore yesterday. Now before you start, I would like to say that Calder's suit was too easy for me to make. Your new suit will be able to actually hold small amounts of water. I know how Atlanteans are with how valuable water is and what damage you can do with it. So no need to thank me about that, Tetsu explained to the 3 who nodded. A few minutes later Naruto's costume appeared. Now Naruto, your vest is a way itself. Now before you start asking questions. Yes, you can adjust the weight by simply turning a dial that is on the right side of your vest. Also the maximum weight your vest can hold is 100 pounds. You can always come back to me and I can increase the maximum weight. Also your cloak is fire resistant and water resistant, so no need to worry about it getting wet, Tetsu explained as the chairs stopped moving. Tetsu stood up and moved towards a table where she motioned the 3 to come over. The 3 saw that there was a white and red cat mask on the table as well as another mask that had a spiral design on it with 3 toman marks with 2 acting as peepholes for the person's eyes. Finally there was a hole that seemed to be on the forehead of the mask. You upgraded my mask, Jade asked while taking the cat mask and looking at it. Of course I did, darling. Now your mask has a rebreather in it along with a poison filter. It also has a night vision feature along with infrared. Naruto, your mask has the same features. Tetsu explained while handing Naruto the mask. Why is your mask like that, Naruto? Calder asked, wanting to know why Naruto chose such a unique design for his mask. A promise to someone in my past, Calder. Naruto answered as Tetsu gave both Naruto and Calder a bag with their costume in it. So how much do we owe you? Calder asked as people usually charged for this type of service. The first time's free. Tetsu informed them, who were happy at that fact they were getting state-of-the-art costumes at a free cost. Thank you, both Naruto and Calder said in unison. No problem. Now just come back to visit me. Unlike some people whose name I won't mention. Tetsu replied while looking at Jade, who shook her head at that comment. I'll come back sooner than you think, Jade said, leading Naruto and Calder to the exit. Outside, 7:45 p.m. Est. They were back outside and noticed that night time was approaching. Who knew that making a suit and touring a costume shop would take an entire day? We were in there all day. Naruto commented as it didn't really feel like they were in there for that long. Suits aren't made in the day. I'm shocked she was able to get your suit ready, Naruto. Jade informed Naruto as her suit took a while to get made. Well, she did say my costume was easy, Calder said, remembering her words. So now what do we do that we have our suits? Naruto asked, unsure if they were going to start the plan tonight or tomorrow. We go to the HIVE Academy now, Jade stated to the two, who nodded at the plan of action. How are we going to get there? Calder asked, not knowing where to start. I know how to get there, so leave it to me, Jade replied as they made their way back to Jade's house. Jade led the two to her basement where most of her supplies was stored. You two change upstairs while I change down here, Jade explained to the two as they changed into their costumes. This feels so cool. Way better than my trench coat and orange jumpsuit, Naruto commented while wearing his black cloak, which had a silver flame design on the bottom of it. I feel the same way, Calder replied as he now had on his new suit. Come on you two, it's time to go, Jade stated to the two as she had the HIVE invitation in her hand. The two followed her as they left Jade's house. Rough the tunnel she had as they were now in downtown Jump City. Rooftops. 9 p.m. Est. So where is this place? Calder questioned as they were running across the rooftops of multiple buildings. We're almost there, Calder, Jade answered before jumping off the building and landing into an alley. I take it this is the place? Naruto asked while looking around for anyone. Nope, the place is down here, Jade replied before placing the invitation on the manhole cover. The manhole cover glowed for a few seconds before sliding off. Jump, Jade ordered before jumping down the manhole. Naruto and Calder jumped down as well. A few seconds later the trio was now staring at the entrance to the HIVE Academy. Someone likes bees a little too much, Naruto commented as they walked towards the entrance. Cheshire, my dear assassin, how nice of you to join us, a calm voice stated, getting their attention. The three saw an elderly male wearing a dark blue and gold tunic over his white jumpsuit. He also saw he wore silver gloves that went to his forearms as well. The honor's all mine, brother Blood, Jade replied as the leader of the HIVE walked over and looked at Naruto and Calder. And who are you two? Brother Blood asked with interest in his voice. I'm Ghost and the guy beside me is Hydro, Naruto said, using the names Jade gave them while on the way here. Interesting names indeed. Now I will need you three to report to the training room in about an hour. I need to assess your skill to see if you're HIVE material. We don't accept everyone, Brother Blood informed the three, who nodded. Don't worry, Brother Blood, we'll pass no problem, Naruto replied as he wasn't one to back down from a challenge. Very well, Billy Numerous, come here and show our new students around. Bro, Thair Blood called as a male wearing a red jumpsuit came over. They noticed he had a division sign on his chest. Billy would be honored to show the new guys around. Follow me, Billy said before two more Billies appeared. Don't follow that loser. Follow me, another Billy called while walking in a different direction. He's right, they're both losers, now come on and let Billy show you around the whole academy. The third Billy said, confusing the trio. Pull yourself together. Brother Blood ordered as his eyes glowed red for a few seconds as the Billies became one again. Sorry about those guys. Clones like to act on their own. Billy explained to the three. I can relate. Naruto replied as Billy began the tour of the HIVE Academy. The three saw that there were a lot of teenage villains were enrolled in the HIVE Academy. I'm taking this place down the first chance I get. I mean, who comes up with a school for villains in the first place? Naruto thought as they arrived at the training area. Well, this is where the tour ends. You three have to take that elevator down to the training area. Billy informed the three who boarded the elevator. Once on the elevator took them to the training area. Okay, you three will be going against my elite students today. Now I'm not expecting a lot from you Ghost or Hydro seeing as you two are new to being villains, but Cheshire I want to be impressed. Brother Blood stated through a PDA. The three also saw that they had an audience made up of most of the students who attended the academy was there to witness the fight. I'll impress you all right, Jade muttered to herself as they saw a platform with three people rise from the ground. One being a tall male who had long orange hair and muscular build. The male was wearing a black sleeveless jumpsuit with a golden tunic and golden gauntlets. The second was a short bald male who had light green goggles that was resting on his head. He wore a dark green jumpsuit with green gloves. EY also noticed he had a silver backpack on his back. The last person was a female with pink hair, pale skin, and pink eyes with cat-like pupils. They saw that she was dressed more or less like a witch. So these are the noobs, huh? Let's send them home packing. Gizmo proclaimed while putting his goggles over his eyes and pulling out a game controller. Try not to play with them too much, Gizmo. Ma'am, Oath commented as Gizmo was known for taking too long with his opponents. I agree with Mammoth, Jinx added on while agreeing with the biggest member of the group. I want the short one, Naruto told Jade and Calder, who nodded at his choice. I'll take on Jinx then. I have a little score to settle with her anyway. Jade replied, leaving Calder to deal with Mammoth. You may begin. Brother Blood announced as the training assessment had begun. Here we come, Gizmo shouted as his backpack transformed into bat wings as he took off into the sky and started to scan the area. Hey, I thought there were three of them. Gizmo asked himself, not seeing the one with the cloak anywhere. Pay attention, a voice informed him as the kid genius looked up and saw Naruto was actually above him. Gizmo immediately went into a down spiral. Naruto saw this and disappeared once again. With Jinx, she saw Gizmo was scanning the area like he usually does with his goggles. She looked at her opponents and didn't see Cheshire. Looking for me, Jinx? Jade asked as she hit Jinx with a powerful kick which sent her off the platform. Mammoth brought one of his fist up to hit Cheshire only to be hit by a wave of water which sent him off the platform. It's not nice to hit a lady, Calder advised in a cold tone to his opponent who got up from the blast of water. Am I supposed to be afraid of something? Mammoth asked while staring down his opponent. Not yet, Calder replied as his tattoos started to glow blue along with his eyes. Oh, scary, Mammoth taunted with sarcasm in his voice. Now be afraid, Calder replied while pulling out two rods as water started to form on the rods in shape of two hammers. With Naruto, he had to admit that technology was interesting, but nothing could beat old-fashioned shinobi skills. Right now he was showing Gizmo that you didn't need technology to fight your battles. You rely on your gadgets too much, Naruto commented as he dodged Gizmo's mini rockets. Gizmo had switched from his bat wings to his four spider-like legs. Like you know anything, Gizmo replied before firing off more rockets. Naruto pulled out a few kunais Jade gave him and channeled a little bit of WIND chakra into them before throwing them. The effect was that his kunais were able to not only go through the rockets but hit Gizmo's legs as well, which caused a few sparks to come from the legs. Give up now and I won't hurt you, Naruto ordered, trying to end this pointless battle. Like hell I will, Gizmo replied, not accepting defeat. As 6 more Narutos appeared on the battlefield. Unlike your friend Billy, my clones obey me, Naruto informed Gizmo, who was now thinking this battle through. This new guy is probably smarter than Billy. I take that back, anyone is smarter than Billy but Street. I may have a shot if Mammoth and Jinx were here, Gizmo thought to himself while looking to see how his teammates were doing. He saw Jinx had multiple senbons going through her arms while Mammoth was literally getting hammered by his opponent. We give up, Gizmo announced, causing Jade and Calder to stop their attacks. Congratulations Cheshire, Hydro, and Ghost. You were able to beat my 3 elite students, which mean you will be taking a mission I was going to give to them. Meet me in my office in a few minutes. Brother Blood explained as the 3 helped their opponents. Cheshire was King the Sinbon's needles out of Jinx while Calder was helping Mammoth to his feet. Brother Blood's office. The 3 walked into Brother Blood's office. Seeing as he wasn't there yet, they decided to take a seat. Brother Blood walked in a few minutes later with multiple papers in his hand. I must say you 3 did a number on my students. Especially you Cheshire, I must say the stories I heard of Boo. You are not close to what you did today. Also Hydro and Ghost, you 2 performed well today against more experienced students. Brother Blood said to the trio. I told you we were going to pass. Naruto boasted as he was right about them passing. Indeed, now I need you 3 to investigate Cadmus Lab number 5 for me. Brother Blood explained to the 3. Isn't that in Washington, D.C.? Jade asked the HIVE leader, who nodded. Don't worry, I have already brought tickets for your 3 to go to Washington, D.C. Now once there I need you 3 to figure out what they are doing. Rumors have it they have made a weapon that can possibly beat Superman himself. Brother Blood informed them as to why it was so important for them to go. Why not send Gizmo, Mammoth, and Jinx? They do have more experience than us. Calder replied, not getting why he would send them. You made them look like fools out there Hydro. So I'm taking a chance here and sending you 3. Call it a final exam if you will. Brother Blood said, hoping that they would accept the task. We'll take this mission then. Naruto stated to Brother Blood, who handed them a folder. In there is your ticket information as well as all the information I have on Cadmus. Brother Blood explained to the 3. We'll get right on it Brother Blood. Jade replied as the trio stood up to leave. Also, do not fail me. Brother Blood ordered as his eyes were glowing red. Calder's eyes were glowing red as Jade and Naruto both wore a mask. He could tell Cheshire was under his control due to her body language, but Naruto seemed immune to it. A few seconds later Brother Blood eye stopped glowing. Your little eye trick doesn't impress me. Naruto whispered as the 3 left the room. He was able to break through my mind control technique. It doesn't matter. I know for a fact they won't make it back. Brother Blood thought to himself before looking at a file that was titled Project Kerr. I hope they have Project Kerr ready. If not, then I don't know what will happen. Brother Blood thought to himself before leaving his office. With Cheshire, Ghost, and Hydro, the 3 left the HIVE Academy and were now back at Jade's house getting ready to leave for this assignment. Naruto had told the 2 how Brother Blood was trying to use some type of mind control technique on them. So how were you able to break through it? Calder asked, not remembering him being controlled. Kurama. Naruto replied as they were packed up to leave Jump City for Washington, D.C. Jade, Naruto, and Calder arrived in Washington, D.C. around 10 o'clock Eastern Time. The flight to the nation's capital wasn't that bad. Naruto at first was a little timid to ride an airplane but got over it once he was on it. At the moment the 3 HIVE students were out trying to find the house Brother Blood set up for them. The house is right here guys. Jade called, getting the 2 males' attention. The trio was now staring at a 2-story house which was located in downtown DC. So how did Brother Blood get this house? Naruto asked while looking at the house. Most villains like Brother Blood tend to have safe houses. In this case Brother Blood lets the HIVE students use the safe houses. Jade explained to the blonde, who nodded at the information. Well, let's go in, Calder stated as the 3 went inside the house. They were shocked to see that it looked like a regular house. Looks like someone was here before us. Naruto commented while noticing that there were cloths on the couch. That person is still here. A voice announced from behind the trio. If you move I guarantee you'll be blasted. The voice warned the 3. Jade recognized the voice and decided to risk it by turning around. Naruto and Calder saw Jade turn and decided to turn as well, hoping that she had a plan. The 2 males saw a person wearing a black suit, with black boots, black gloves, and a black cape, but the thing that interested the 2 the most was the red X going across their chest and the skull mask they wore. You guys really don't listen to you? The person asked as they had their right arm stretched forward. The 3 noticed that the middle of their palm was glowing red. Grant Wilson. Jade asked the masked person. The masked person was shocked that the women of the trio knew his name. There were only 3 people that knew his true name. If it isn't my favorite assassin. The masked person replied while lowering his arm and giving Jade a hug. Grant, what the hell are you doing here? Jade asked the masked thief. I could say the same for you and your 2 friends. Grant answered, seeing that Jade was the last person he expected to see here, let alone the 2 guys she brought with her at that. What is going on here? Calder asked in a calm tone, not getting what was going on here. Sorry about that, Jade's friends. I'm Red X while I'm wearing this, but Jade decided to say my real name. So, Grant Wilson at your service. Grant said, introducing himself as he took his helmet off to reveal his blue eyes and spiky black hair. Me and Grant go way back. We used to be partners at one point until that thing in Paris happened. Jade added on, explaining their relationship to the 2. You said run, not gun. Grant replied in his defense. So why are you here, Grant? Naruto questioned, as this was where they were supposed to stay at. Let me guess, Brother Blood, right? He did some BS statement saying that you defeated his elite students, or something like that, and sent you here to investigate Cadmus. Grant explained, getting a nod from the 3. So how long have you been here? Calder asked the masked thief. I arrived last night. I had a heist to do in Jump City, that's where I recognized you 2 now. You 2 and Jade were fighting in the museum while I took the gem. Grant answered, shocking the 3 that he took the gem. You took the gem? Man, those Teen Titans guys blamed us for it. Naruto complained while remembering his Saint encounter with the heroes of Jump City. Sorry about that, but I needed a new energy source for my suit. Can't run off of Zenithium forever, right? Grant said jokingly before getting slapped by Jade in the back of the head. I told you to stop using Zenithium, but you never did listen to me, and you didn't say anything to me while I was at the museum as well. Jade replied as Grant held his head in pain. That hurt, Jade. Grant started off while grabbing the back of his head for a few seconds. Anyway, make yourselves at home, and after I change and you guys settle in, meet me in the basement and bring whatever information you have on Cadmus. I have a feeling something big is going to happen soon. So what is Red X exactly? Calder asked Jade, as he never heard of him before. He's a thief, looking out for himself, or at least that what he tells the heroes. I know him personally, and I know that he steals in order to provide for his family. Jade explained, giving the 2 more information on the thief. So what does his family tree look like? Naruto asked, hoping that it wasn't a touchy subject. He had a father, but he passed away. The same can be said about his mother. The only 2 left are his sister, who I believe is living in Jump City for now, and their butler, who they consider family. I think Grant said his name was Wintergreen or something like that. He doesn't like to talk about his sister. Jade explained to the 2 who nodded at the information. Tell them my life stories while you're at it, Jade. Grant commented while walking downstairs. He was wearing a pair of blue jeans, a black shirt, and black tennis shoes. Sorry about that, Jade replied as Grant shrugged it off. No worries, Jade. Now you guys settle in, I'll be in the basement. Grant stated before heading to the basement. Let's unpack then, Calder suggested as they each went to a room and unpacked their stuff. After settling in, they went to the basement to see Grant. Basement. 10:15 a.m. Est. The basement was set up with a round table and had 4 chairs circling it. They also saw that there was a television that was on down there as well. Take your seats, guys, and Jade. I think we have a lot of talking to do, Grant stated as they each took a seat. Alright, so after reading this information, it seems that Brother Blood is worried about this weapon Cadmus is supposed to make. He even stated that it was as powerful as Superman. Jade explained to the 3 males who nodded at the information. Who is Superman? Naruto asked in a confused tone, as he was still getting used to heroes and their power sets. Superman. A hero that not too many people can defeat. Calder answered, hoping to have answered his question. Naruto accepted the answer for now. Anyway, I just came back from checking out the Cadmus lab. So far I haven't seen anything suspicious on the outside yet. I want to go there tonight to see what's really going on. Grant explained his point of view of the situation. I want to go as well. This rumor about having something stronger than Superman is very interesting, Calder said, adding his own 2 cents, remembering how his former king held Superman up in high regards as an ally. I just want to do something, to be honest. I hate being bored. Naruto added on as he wanted some action in his new life. I feel you. Jade replied as the group of 4 was reading up on whatever information they had on Cadmus. Grant had his own information he was able to gather and shared it with the group. Looks like we don't have to wait until night to strike, Grant commented while turning up the volume on the television. There appears to be a fire outside of Cadmus Labs. We are unsure of what caused it, but we promise to fill you in once we know the details. A reporter announced to those viewing the news. Let's go then, Naruto said as they each went to suit up in their costumes and went towards the Cadmus Labs building. Cadmus Labs, 3 p.m. Est. The group of 4 was a few buildings away from the Cadmus building. Calder announced that he wanted to be called Aqualad rather than Hydro. So how do we get in? Naruto asked while looking at the 2-story building which was still on fire. Aqualad will help the firefighters first while the rest of us will find an entrance. After all, the public still sees you as Aquaman's sidekick, Jade stated, getting a nod from Aqualad. Very well then, let the plan being. Calder replied before leaving to help the firefighters. I think I found a way in. Follow me, Grant ordered before leaping to another building which was across from them. With Calder, 3:10 p.m. Est. He was now helping the firefighters put out the fire. 2 scientists were screaming for help as the room they were in exploded, which caused the 2 to fall out the window. Naruto appeared and was able to save the 2 by putting them on the roof. Calder then saw Naruto disappear once again. I need to borrow that, Calder announced while pointing his rods to the water. He created a twister made of water underneath him so that he could rescue the 2 scientists. Hop aboard. Now, Calder ordered as the 2 scientists stepped onto the water-made platform. Calder start. Ed to lower the platform before jumping onto a window sill and lowering the 2 scientists. Nice job, Naruto commented at seeing Calder using water manipulation. Thanks, Calder replied while jumping into the building. He saw that Grant was typing on the computer while Jade was reading a few files. Naruto decided to see if anyone was coming and stepped into the hallway. Down the hall was a figure with horns riding down an elevator. He rode in an elevator before seeing as Snow Country had built a few. Hey guys, something just went into the elevator, Naruto announced, getting his friend's attention. Elevators are supposed to be shut down during a fire, Jade muttered as she had known that knowledge when she used to kill a target. That's not right, Grant stated before bringing up his Fort wrist as a blue light started to glow. A few seconds later a holographic computer appeared. Grant started to hit a few keys on the computer. What are you talking about, X? Jade asked while looking at the holographic monitor. The elevator is a Silver Slip Express elevator Cheshire. This elevator doesn't belong on a 2-story building, Grant explained to the trio. I hope that whatever I saw doesn't belong here either, Naruto commented before going to the elevator and forcing it open. Naruto looked down and saw how deep the elevator went. Now that's a long way down, Grant commented before grabbing his grappling hook. When did you get that? Jade asked in an interesting tone while looking at the grappling hook. I learned to be prepared for anything, Grant replied before shooting the X-shaped hook onto the ceiling. He then jumped down the elevator shaft. Jade and Naruto both used chakra manipulation to run down the elevator shaft while Calder used the rope from Grant's grappling hook to go down the elevator shaft. A few minutes later Grant's rope came to a halt as he jumped onto the elevator ledge. Calder jumped off as well while Jade and Naruto joined the 2. Leave the grappling hook, Aqualad, I have more, Grant said as his holographic computer came on once again. On the monitor was the elevator door. Above it was the words Cadmus Security System Override while beside it was 5 locks. Hacking once again, Jade commented while seeing Grant hack the security system. She wouldn't admit it but she wished she could learn how to hack like Grant. I'm a thief, Cheshire. I'm supposed to be able to hack a system or 2 when the time calls for it. Alright Aqualad, you can open the elevator doors now, Grant ordered as Calder opened the elevator doors as the group of 4 walked through it. I guess this is Project Cadmus then, Naruto said while looking at the new hallway they were in. I'll scout ahead, Jade stated before vanishing away from the 3 males. That was all speed, Naruto commented while looking at where Jade was before she went ahead. Cheshire has trained her body to run first and foremost, Grant explained as Jade reappeared before the trio. Follow me, Jade ordered as the group of 4 was now down the hallway and were now looking at what seemed to be mutated elephants walking down the second hallway. Nothing odd going on down here, Calder said with sarcasm in his voice while looking at the animals that continued their march. Let's follow them, Naruto suggested while looking at the animals. As Grant had his holographic computer out and was typing on it. I found a door, guys, Grant stated as they followed him towards to a vault-like door which had a red dot in the middle. A few seconds later the color changed from red to green as the door opened. The group walked into seeing a room which had multiple containers on the wall with what they guessed was animals inside of them. From the looks of it, they were making electricity. I guess Brother Blood information was right, the real Cadmus isn't on the grid because they generate their own power with these things. It must be what they are bred for, Jade explained while gesturing her hand to the animals. Of course, even the name is a clue, the Cadmus of myth created a new race by sowing dragon's teeth into the earth. Calder added on to Cheshire's conclusion. Seems this Cadmus is the same as the myth, Naruto concluded while Grant walked over to the computer in the room. Let's find out, why shall we? Grant replied before opening his left gauntlet to reveal a USB cord. He plugged the USB cord into the computer as a few seconds later his holographic monitor appeared. They're called genomorphs, Grant started off before pressing the monitor as another genomorph appeared on the screen. Look at these things. Super strength, telepathy, razor claws. These things are living weapons. Talk about building an army, Naruto commented as Grant pulled up a file titled Project Cur. Project Cur, huh? Grant muttered as he tried to hack the file. What is it? Jade asked the hacker of the team. I can't access it, Grant started off as he was unable to get into it. Too many encryptions and not enough time. As Grant decided to download whatever useful information he could get. Hold it right there, a voice shouted, getting the group of 4's attention. They turned to see a person in a black shirt, blue pants, a golden helmet, black shoes, and what appeared to be a golden shield. Beside him were what appeared to be genomorphs. I know you, Guardian, a hero, right? Calder questioned, getting a nod from the male. Grant's monitor now showed that it was finished downloading. Grant's USB cord went back into his gauntlet. I do my best, the hero in question replied to the young intruder. So why are you here? Jade asked in a cold tone. League of Shadows intimidation technique number 1. Always use a cold voice to make your target or opponent afraid of you. I believe that's my question, Cheshire. Guardian answered while eyeing the assassin. So what will the League think of you making weapons? Calder questioned, wanting to know if he knew what Cadmus was actually doing. Making weapons. I don't know what your Guardian started off as the genomorph on his shoulder horns started to glow red. My head. Take them down hard. No mercy. Guardia. N ordered as the genomorphs pounced on the group of 4. There's a door down the hallway. Meet me there, Grant stated before teleporting to the end of the hallway. Jade was throwing Senbons at the genomorphs while Calder was fighting his in close combat. Naruto on the other hand was now in a fight with Guardian. What is that thing? Naruto questioned while ducking a few punches. As his questio, N was referring to the genomorph on his shoulder. None of your concern, Guardian replied before trying to hit Naruto with a jab, only to have his jab miss his intended target, thus leaving Naruto with an opening. Later, Naruto said as he hit Guardian with a powerful chakra-enhanced punch which sent him and his genomorph flying. Naruto saw the genomorphs coming for him and decided to leave before he was ambushed. With Grant, he was currently hacking the elevator. Right now he was almost done when Jade and Calder appeared in the hallway he was in. I got it open, Grant said as the elevator doors opened. The trio went into the elevator and closed the door. Where's Ghost? Jade asked with concern in her voice. He's still back there, Calder said, wanting to go back up to help his friend. I wish we could, but we can't, Grant informed the two as they were heading down. Why are we going down? Jade asked, not knowing why they were going down. Project Cur is supposed to be down there. Gee, Grant answered as the elevator continued its track downwards. With Ghost, he appeared down the hallway and saw the elevator doors shut with his friends inside. He also saw the genomorphs were now turning around and looking at his location. I was too late, Naruto thought to himself while looking at the elevator number. I guess they're looking for Project Cur. As the genomorphs charged towards him. Run forward, a female voice told him. Naruto knew it wasn't Kyuubi, so he hoped that this voice knew what it was doing. Now what? Naruto asked, hoping the voice heard him. There will be a flight of stairs coming up on your right, so take them. The female voice answered as Naruto saw the picture, which meant that it was the stairs. Before he got on the stairs, Naruto threw an explosive tag at the approaching Genomorphs and went up the stairs. Now what? Naruto asked while going up the stairs. Run up 3 flights of steps and take the door. The female voice answered as Naruto was finally up the 3rd flight of steps. He opened the door and saw that the hallway was clear. Well, I'm here, Naruto said to the voice while looking at the clear hallway. I'm glad you trusted me, a female voice said, getting his attention. Naruto was now staring at a female who had green skin, brown eyes, long red hair. They wore a black form-fitting jumpsuit which had a large red X design that was on her torso. She also had on a blue cape and black boots as well. Sorry, but I'm new here. So who are you? Naruto asked, seeing the female who saved him. Miss Martian, she answered, introducing herself to the ninja-themed hero in front of her. You can call me Ghost, he replied while holding out his hand, hoping that she would shake his hand. If not, then he might just have a fight on his hands. That's good to know, Miss Martian said before shaking his hand, as Naruto could relax knowing that she wasn't with the Project Cadmus. With Cheshire, Aqualad, and Red X, the 3 were on floor 52. They looked arrowed and saw that the room was like a huge cave with red rocks. Grant went to the computer monitor while Jade went a few steps ahead. Which way? Calder asked as Grant shrugged his shoulders in response. I'm not sure, Grant replied as a Genomorph wearing a white shirt, white pants, and white shoes appeared. The Genomorph held his hand out as his eyes and horns glowed red as dark green containers went towards the 3 who dodged them. Grant threw one of his X-shurikens at the creature only to have it stop in midair. The 3 started to sprint down the hallway with the Genomorph known as Double X was right behind them. Double X stopped moving when he saw Guardian and a few G-Elves exit another elevator. They're headed towards Project Kerr, Double X announced to the newcomers who ran towards the group of 3. Jade saw an African-American woman exit out a vault door which was labeled Project Kerr. She knew Calder wouldn't be able to get into the room without the door being opened. Thinking quickly, she placed a green tank in between the door before going in the room. Grant was the second to enter the room, followed by Calder, who was able to get into the room. He immediately kicked the green tank out the door, letting it shut all the way. The door's disabled, Grant informed the group as his holographic computer disappeared. So we're trapped, Calder concluded, not liking being trapped 52 floors below the ground. Look at this, Grant said while gesturing them to come over. Jade pressed a button on the keyboard as the lights in the room came on. In front of the 3 was an pod with a boy with spiky black hair in it. His attire looked like a white jumpsuit with the Superman emblem on his chest. On the pod in black writing was the letters Kerr. That damn sure isn't Superman, Grant commented while looking at the pod. So Miss Martian, why are you here anyway? Ghost inquired as the 2 were walking down the hallway. I'm here to prove to my uncle that I can be the hero he wants me to be, Miss Martian answered with confidence in her voice. A woman with something to prove. Ghost started off as they continued their walk. That's my type of person. That's nice to know, Miss Martian said, glad that she could possibly have a friend in Ghost. So how were you able to communicate with me? Ghost asked with interest in his voice. I'm a telepath, Ghost. Everyone on my planet communicates this way, Miss Martian replied telepathically. About that whole telepath thing, I think people on this earth consider it an invasion of privacy when you do that without someone's permission. Ghost explained as he remembered what Ino had told him about her clan and their techniques. Really? I didn't know that, Miss Martian replied as her uncle didn't have the time to teach her about Earth customs. So how many friends do you have? Ghost asked the Martian. None, Miss Martian replied in a sad tone at the fact that she's been on Earth for a week and didn't have anyone to call a friend. Ghost was now thinking of Gaara, seeing as their situations were somewhat similar. He decided to be her first true friend. I'll be your first friend, Miss Martian, Ghost stated, getting a hug from Miss Martian. Thank you, Miss Martian replied in an excited tone before breaking the hug. What was that about? Ghost asked in a confused tone. I mean, he didn't have a problem with the hug, of course. Isn't that an Earth custom when one is happy about something? Miss Martian asked in a slightly confused tone. Could the television show she watched could have been wrong? It is, but it was just so sudden. That's all. Ghost replied as the two heard footsteps. Someone's coming, Miss Martian said to Ghost, who heard footsteps. We have to move, Ghost stated as the footsteps were getting closer to their position. Trust me, Miss Martian said while holding her hand out for Ghost to grab. I do, Ghost replied while taking her hand as the two was now camouflaged. While a person with long brown hair which was tied in a ponytail walked by them. The two also saw that he was wearing a white lab coat, glasses, brown pants, and black shoes. Also on his shoulder was small Genomorph. Ghost recognized that the Genomorph on his shoulder was the same species as the one that was on Guardian's shoulder. Tell Guardian that I will be down there in a few minutes. Once I'm down there we can begin cloning Cheshire, Red X, and Aqualad. Mark Desmond informed the Genomorph, whose horns started to glow red for a few seconds before they stopped glowing. I can't believe Project Kerr is out and about. It seems that I'm going to have to do some reprogramming once this is over. Mark Desmond muttered to himself before entering an elevator and going down to level 52. What did you do? Ghost asked as he and Miss Martian were visible once again. It's an ability my race has, Ghost. It's called camouflage. Miss Martian answered, getting a nod from Ghost. That was cool. Now we have to go to level 52. The rest of my friends are down there, Ghost stated, getting a nod from Miss Martian. Well, let's go, Miss Martian replied as the two went towards the elevator Mark Desmond entered. Miss Martian used her telekinesis to open the doors. Man, I hope Ino clans can't do that, Naruto thought before the two entered the elevator shaft. Ghost was sticking to the wall's will. Miss Martian was levitating down the elevator shaft. Let's speed this up, Miss Martian, Ghost suggested, getting a nod from the female alien who was ready for anything. Keep up. As the former Leaf Ninja started sprinting down the elevator shaft with Miss Martian right behind him. My first friend, I guess television can't teach you everything, Megan thought to herself while staying right behind Ghost. Don't worry guys, I'm coming, Naruto thought as the two continued their way down the elevator shaft. With Red X, Cheshire, and Aqualad. 10:10 p.m. Est. The three were just waking up as they found themselves in pods. They were greeted with the sight of Superboy standing a few feet away from them. How did we end up in here? Cheshire asked Red X and Aqualad as she was trying to remember what actually caused them to be here in this position. Let's see. I hacked the computer in Superboy's room. Then Aqualad said set him free, and the next thing I know he's acting like a wild animal attacking us. Red X said, recapping what had happened in the last 10 minutes or so. I don't think our friend was in control of his action, Aqualad stated to Red X and Cheshire as the two remembered that there were Genomorphs in his pod as well. What if I wasn't? Superboy replied, shocking the trio. You can talk, Red X said in awe, thinking that he couldn't. Of course I can. The Genomorphs taught me much. I can read, write. I know the name of places and things, Superboy said, listing off what the Genomorphs taught him. Have you seen them? Have you been outside, or did they keep you here? See? Heshire asked, hoping to get some type of response out of him. I have images planted in my mind, but I have not seen them, Superboy answered truthfully. Do you know what you are or who you are? Aqua Lad questioned, trying to find an advantage that they could use to get Superboy on their side. I am the Superboy, a Genomorph, a clone made from the DNA of the Superman. I was created to replace him should he perish, to destroy him if he were to turn away from the light, Superboy stated to the trio. To be like Superman is a worthy aspiration, but like Superman you deserve a life of your own. Beyond that solar suit, beyond your pod, and beyond Cadmus, Aqualad replied, trying to convince Superboy that he should have a life of his own. I live because of Cadmus. This is my home, Superboy shouted in disagreement. Your home is a test tube. We can show you the sun, Red X replied in a calm tone. I'm pretty sure it's after midnight, but we can show you the moon, Cheshire added on, trying to help convince Superboy to help them. I can introduce you to Superman, Aqualad said, hoping that would work, while the door opened as Mark Desmond along with Guardian and Dr. Spence walked into the room. No, he can't, he will be occupied. Activate the cloning process, Desmond ordered to one of the Genomorphs. I'll take a pass on that, Red X replied, not in the mood to have a clone running around. And get the weapon back into its pod, Desmond shouted at Guardian who walked towards Superboy. Please, help us, Cheshire said in a soft tone as Superboy stood there when Guardian put his hand on his shoulder. Don't start thinking now, Desmond remarked as his Genomorph jumped onto Superboy's shoulder. Once on the Genomorph's horns started to glow red. See, you're not a real boy, you're a weapon and you belong to me. Well, to Cadmus, same thing, now get back to your pod. As Superboy left the room as the door closed. A minute later screams were heard coming from the room as Red X, Cheshire, and Aqualad were in pain from the electrical rod's drive Spence was using on them. Where is Double X? Desmond asked Guardian who shrugged as footsteps were heard as Double X came into the light. Lurking as usual. Get the genomes downloading their memories. When that's done and when you're sure the clones are viable, delete the source material, he ordered as Double X nodded in response. Superboy, you are alive. That gives you the right to follow your own path. A weapon or a person. The choice is yours, but ask yourself, what would Superman do? Aqualad stated, hoping that his words may have reached Superboy. A few seconds later the door was ripped off as Superboy appeared with the door in his hands before throwing it to the side. The electrical rods that was shocking the trio had stopped working. I told you to, Desmond started before Superboy pushed Desmond, Guardian, and Double X out of the way. Don't give me orders, Superboy replied to the downed professor who was shocked to see his weapon being used against him. You're here to help us or fry us? Cheshire asked as Superboy narrowed his eyes for a few seconds. I don't seem to have heat vision. So I guess helping is my only option. Superboy answered as Red X jumped out of the pod he was once in. I'm so glad Catwoman wasn't here to see this. She would have my head for taking so long. Red X commented while holding his left wrist for a few seconds. Seriously, that's what you're worried about? Cheshire said to Red X who went to the computer in the room and pressed key on it. A few seconds later the glass surrounding Aqualad and Cheshire disappeared. Hey, could you free Aqualad for me? I'll get Cheshire. Red X asked, getting a nod from Superboy as the two freed Aqualad and Cheshire. Thank you, Aqualad said to Superboy, getting a nod from the clone. The group of four started to run out of the room. You'll never get out of here. I'll have you back in pod before morning, Desmond proclaimed as Red X threw THR EX shurikens at the orbs in front of their former pods, as they exploded once they hit their target. Later, Red X said as the group of four was now out of the room and was trying to find a way out of here. Activate every Genomorphs in Cadmus, Desmond ordered as the Genomorphs on his shoulder did what it was told. With Superboy, Red X, Cheshire, and Aqualad. 10:30 p.m. Est. We're still 52 levels below ground, but if we can make the elevator, Aqualad started to say as the group of four stopped sprinting as a few larger Genomorphs appeared in their way. They all turned around and saw red pods were starting to glow white as more Genomorphs started to appear. Udama Rasengan, a voice shouted as one of the larger Genomorphs was sent flying forward as the group of four dodged the fly-in G Genomorph which hit the other three larger ones. Ghost, Cheshire cried out as Ghost along with Miss Martian was standing a few feet away from them. Come on, Miss Martian yelled as they all ran towards the elevator shaft. Red X took out a grappling hook and shot it upwards. Cheshire and Ghost used chakra to stick to the walls. Miss Martian started to levitate while Superboy grabbed Aqualad and leapt upwards. A few seconds later the two started to fall. Ghost saw this and threw a kunai at the wall that Aqualad was able to grab it. Superman can fly. Why can't I fly? Superboy questioned to himself. As Cheshire, Ghost, Miss Martian, and Red X went down towards their friends. Looks like you can leap tall buildings. Still pretty cool in my book, Cheshire said as Aqualad let go of the kunai as the two dropped down onto the ledge of the elevator. Thank you, Superboy replied as they heard a noise coming from above him. They all saw an elevator coming down. Exit stage left. Red XA. N announced as Superboy punched the elevator door as they all got out of the elevator shaft. Once out they saw the Genomorphs were down the hallway and decided to run away rather than fight them. Turn left, a voice announced to Superboy whose eyes widened for a few seconds before deciding to listen to the voice. Go left, Superboy stated as the group made a left turn. Turn right, the voice announced NCE again as Superboy told them to go right. After they turned right they saw a wall with a ventilation shaft was blocking their way. Nice directions. Ghost said as he pulled the ventilation door of F as they all were now in the ventilation shaft. I don't think we'll make it out. Miss Martian stated her worries to the others in the group. Listen, Superboy said as they all heard growls in the ventilation shaft. With Desmond, 10:35 p.m. EST. He along with Guardian, XX and a couple of Genomorphs were in hot pursuit of the group. In his hands was a pad that was showing multiple dots. It appears someone, Red X I would guess, hacked our systems and deactivated our internal security cameras, but he neglected the motion sensors. Desmond stated as he led them to the men's restroom. They're all going to come out in here. We have them cornered. As a few seconds later the group they were pursuing came out of the bathroom ventilation shaft. Now all of them were standing right in front of Desmond. We have you now, Desmond said before showing an evil smirk. He was thinking about doing an evil laugh, but that would be overkill. Not really. The boss told me to tell you that. You'll never catch us, Ghost replied before he along with the rest of the clones disappeared in puffs of smoke. Find them, Desmond shouted as they all left the bathroom angry at the fact that they fooled them. Desmond picked up his pad and growled. He hacked the motion sensors. He muttered before throwing the tablet down in anger. With Red X, 10:35 p.m. Est. I hacked the motion sensors to add insult to injury. Red X announced to the group as his holographic computer disappeared. Nice, Cheshire commented as Red X did have his moments. We're still not out yet, but we do have some space between us and them. Aqualad said as they were doing well so far, but they had to get out completely to be safe. Now I have some room to move, Cheshire said before rolling up her sleeves to reveal that she had metal claws under the long sleeves. Let's move, Ghost ordered as Cheshire ran up the stairwell as a couple Genomorphs started to come down the stairs. Cheshire quickly took out the Genomorphs that were in her way by killing them quickly. They're more behind us, Red X announced as Superboy stopped and turned around. Go away, Superboy shouted before stomping his foot onto the stairs as the metal gave away, causing the Genomorphs to fall. Superboy had to admit that having super strength was pretty cool. With Desmond, 10:40 p.m. Est. At the moment himself, Guardian, and XX were in an elevator going towards sub-level 1. Guardian had said that this was where they would cut them off. Desmond stopped the elevator. I need to get something from Project Blockbuster. I'll meet you at sub-level 1. Desmond said as he got off the elevator and went to the lab where the Project Blockbuster research was located at. With Cheshire, 10:50 p.m. Est. She was out of the stairwell and was now running towards the exit. Sirens started to go off as huge metal doors blocked her way out. A few seconds later the rest of the group joined her. We're cut off from the street, Aqualad announced to the others. I can't hack this fast enough. Red X complained at the fact that it would take him a few minutes. Something he didn't have. Superboy and Aqualad were trying to use raw strength to open the door, but to no avail. This way, Ghost announced while kicking a door opened. The group went through the door and started to run, only to stop when they saw they were surrounded by multiple Genomorphs that were different sizes, along with Guardian and XX being present as well. Aqualad pulled out his rods as they took the form of swords while everyone else went into a fighting stance. Most of the small Genomorphs' horns started to glow red as they all fell to the ground except for Miss Martian, who was fighting off their telepathic ability with her own. Leave my friends alone, Miss Martian shouted, as the smaller Genomorphs started to feel overwhelmed by Miss Martian's telepathic abilities. The rest of the group started to get up once hearing Miss Martian's voice. Way to go, Miss Martian, Ghost commented while congratulating her on making sure the group didn't fall to telepathy. Thanks, Superboy said, adding on to Ghost praise. Guardian, Aqualad asked while eyeing the hero. He wasn't sure what Guardian would do since last time he was controlled by a Genomorph. Go, leave Desmond to me, Guardian answered. I think not, a voice stated as the Genomorphs moved to reveal Desmond holding a blue vial. Project Blockbuster will give me the power to restore order to Cadmus, he proclaimed before drinking what was in the blue vial. As Desmond's form started to shift and change, with skin peeling off along with most of his cloths. A few seconds later he was now a huge blue Genomorph. Everyone stand back, Guardian ordered before charging at Desmond, only to get sent flying from a powerful backhand. Superboy decided to fight him one-on-one, which led to the two taking their fight upwards to the street level of the building. You think Desmond was planning that? Cheshire asked her fellow comrades who shrugged their shoulders in response. I don't think he's planning anything anymore, Miss Martian said before using her powers to levitate the group to the floor Superboy was on. The Y arrived to see Superboy being thrown away by Blockbuster. The group went over and saw that Superboy was alright. Miss Martian, can you read his thoughts? Ghost asked, who shook her head no. I have. In't been able to read it once he transformed. The only thing it knows is that we're his enemies and he has to stop us. Miss Martian informed the group. Red X and Miss Martian. Find a way to bring this guy down. We'll give you as much time as we can. Aqualad said, getting a nod from the two. I'll lead, Cheshire stated before disappearing in a green blur. A few seconds later she appeared on top of Blockbuster. Gotcha, she whispered while planting an explosive tag on his back before disappearing once again. The explosive sent him flying forward. Udama Rasengan, Ghost shouted before hitting Blockbuster with a large blue orb which sent him flying backwards. Leave it to us, Aqualad called out before he and Superboy hit Blockbuster with a power punch each which sent him to the ground. Did that do it? Ghost asked as Blockbuster got up. The group saw the damage the Rasengan did. The front part of his torso was now bleeding. Blockbuster let of a powerful roar, letting his opponents know he wasn't finished. Everyone, me and Red X have come up with a plan, Miss Martian announced, startling everyone except Ghost. What is it? Ghost asked as he was dodging Blockbuster hits. This was going to take some getting used to. Fighting monsters rather than humans felt weird. The pillars in the room. Knock those down and get him to the center of the room. Red X explained as everyone nodded. Come and get me, Ghost taunted as he moved out the way to avoid being hit by Blockbuster. Aqualad was using his water hammer to knock down his pillar. Superboy was using his strength while Cheshire was TTING up her explosive tags on another pillar. Red X was now standing in the center of the room and called for Aqualad to use his water to wet up the pavement he was once on. Come on, you incredible bulk, Cheshire taunted while running towards the water. Blockbuster was following her when he was hit from behind by Superboy and landed in the water. Now Aqualad, Miss Martian ordered as the former ward of Aquaman tattoos started to glow light blue as Blockbuster was now being shocked. Everyone on me now, Ghost shouted as everyone gathered around him as Red X's explosive X's were going off as the building started to collapse. I feel so safe right now, Red X commented with sarcasm in his voice. You should be, Ghost replied as the building started to fall around them. Outside Cadmus, 11 p.m. Est. A man wearing a blue fedora along with a blue suit and a blue trench coat was walking out of an alley which was across the street from the Cadmus building. He went towards a lamp post before leaning on it and folding his arms. If you looked close up at his face you would notice he didn't have one. Where the heck is he? Doesn't he know I have better things to do on a Friday night? The man asked out loud. Calm down, babe. You know as well as I know he's around here somewhere. A female voice answered while walking out of the alley. She was dressed in a purple and black costume as on her waist was a small crossbow. I know that, but who does he think he is making us wait? The man asked again. The man who asked questions is finally stumped, ladies and gentlemen, a male voice said while walking out of the same alley. The man was wearing a dark green pair of boots, black pants, a green shirt that was under a green vest, and green gloves. On his head was a green hood while on his back was a quiver filled with arrows. In his right hand was a green bow. You really need to stop trying to be funny, Green Arrow, a female voice remarked while walking out of the same alley. She was a blonde with blue eyes and wore a blue jacket, a black one-piece leotard, gray stockings, black boots, and black fingerless gloves that goes up to her elbow. Around her neck was a black choker. I am funny, Black Canary, Green Arrow replied as he known by the superhero community that he and Flash were the funniest superheroes. Not really, the first female said, adding on to Black Canary's reply. No one asked you, Huntress, Green Arrow replied quickly as she was always one of the two people to say he wasn't funny. Now where is he? The man with the fedora asked once again. Who knows? Maybe he's late for once. Green Arrow replied, hoping that he was right. I'm never late, a cold voice stated as they all looked up and saw a male wearing a bat-themed costume kneeling on a corner of a building. Of course you're not, because you're Batman and Batman's never late. Geesh, you sound like my mom. Green Arrow replied as the man jumped off the building and landed on the streets below. So can we begin now? Question asked, wanting to get to the point of this meeting. We're waiting for those two to land. Batman answered as two people were approaching them. One was an alien known as Mar Tien the Manhunter, while the other was Red Tornado. Apologies Batman, I had to do something at the watchtower. Jean Jones stated as he knew he was a minute or so late. Is okay Jean. Batman rep. Lied, seeing as he was the main person in charge of the watchtower. I was busy with something as well. Red Tornado said as he knew he was late as well. Well, you here, so that's what counts. Green Arrow replied, getting a nod from the robot. So I called this meeting tonight in order to inform you that Cadmus is not what they appear to be. Batman stated to the group of 6. I told you all so. Don't believe the crackpot theorist, they say. He only asks questions, they say. Oh, I can't wait to rub it in their faces. Question ranted before getting an elbow to the stomach courtesy of Huntress. Shut it. Huntress replied to her boyfriend. Now, like I was saying, Batman started before the Cadmus building collapsed right before their eyes. The heroes immediately ran towards the building to check for survivors. As they got closer, they saw 6 people were in a blue barrier of some sorts. Why can't you do something cool like that, Cheshire? Red X asked as Ghost was able to put up a dome around them before the building collapsed on them. I'm an assassin, Red X. Not a SEAL's master. Cheshire answered as the dome around them disappeared. So what do you suppose we do with Blockbuster? Aqualad as Ked as they looked at where Blockbuster was, knocked out and not moving. Nothing. A voice answered as they all turned to see Batman with Martian the Manhunter and Huntress flanking him. Uncle Jean. Miss Martian cried, seeing her uncle, who was shocked to see her here. She had gone missing this afternoon and he wasn't able to get in telepathic contact with her. What are you doing here? I was so worried about you. Jean said before giving her a quick hug. Some family. Red X commented, seeing the two Martians hug for a few seconds. Why are you here? Huntress questioned the group, wanting to know their intentions. Why do you want to know? Superboy replied, questioning the costumed person in front of him. Who are you exactly? Black Canary asked, never seeing him before. I'm Superboy. Superman's clone. He announced, shocking the older heroes in the area. Start talking. Batman ordered as they told them their story. This just proves Cadmus is getting smarter. Question remarked while looking at the former building. Maybe we need to as well. If they can get away with this, then there is no telling what else they have planned. Red Tornado suggested to his allies. Hey Bats. You have a plan that involved our sidekicks or something like that? Green Arrow asked. I did, but I gave up on that idea a long time ago, Arrow. Batman answered. It could work. Just without our wards being the group. I mean, let's face it, they have potential. Green Arrow said. Everyone has potential, Green Arrow. Batman replied, not falling for Green Arrow's point. What are you two talking about? Black Canary asked the two, wanting in on the conversation. Look, Bats wanted to make a team. A team of younger heroes who would do covert operations for the League. Possibly without the League even knowing. Green Arrow explained to everyone in the area. Before I could do that, Robin left and created the Teen Titans. Batman stated to the heroes, seeing no point in making this team. Didn't Speedy go solo after he heard Robin left? Red Tornado asked, getting a nod from Green Arrow. Hey, if you guys are talking about creating a team, then I want to be in it. This world is amazing and I'm too used to helping others in need to just sit around and do nothing. Ghost announced to the heroes. I want to be on this team as well. I want to show Atlantis that I can stand on my own 2 feet. Aqualad said, adding his own reason. We did form something powerful today. Maybe turning over a new leaf won't be so bad. Cheshire commented as she was all up for joining the team. This seems to be better than a test tube, so I'm in. Superboy said, trying to make a joke. Join a covert ops team or do a heist at the Smithsonian. Red X muttered to himself. As the heroes narrowed their eyes for a second. I'm joking, alright. Count me in as well. Hey Miss Martian. Ghost called, gaining the alien's attention. Are you in or what? It's your decision, McGann. Just know that I will support you no matter what. Jean said as he supported his niece. Of course I'm in. Miss Martian replied before joining her new teammates. Interesting how things turned out, huh? Question asked no one in particular. AR as Jean and Red Tornado picked up Blockbuster and took him to the Watchtower. Mount Justice. August 28, 9 a.m. Est. Batman along with the rest of the heroes led the team to Mount Justice. The PLACE used to be where the League would meet up from time to time before the Watchtower was made. At the moment everyone was in their civilian attire including Superboy who now wore a black shirt with THE Krypton symbol on it along with a pair of blue jeans and black boots. Megan was now wearing a blue short-sleeved sweater with a white shirt under it, a blue skirt, and knee-high white socks with blue shoes. As on her head was now a blue headband. Seeing as you're going to fight the good fight, this will be where you will live. Red Tornado has volunteered to be your supervisor while Huntress along with Question will train you. I will deploy you on mission. Now these missions are between us and you. No one in the Justice League knows about this team and I intend on keeping it that way, Batman explained to the group of 6 who nodded at the explanation. And for those people in the gray area, we will be keeping a close eye on you guys as well just to make sure you don't slip into those bad habits you used to do. Green Arrow added on while looking at Jade and Grant who nodded. We still need a name for this group, you know. Calder said to the heroes. True, just as long as it isn't some thing cheesy like Young Justice or something like that. Grant replied as he saw Batman's face for a second. Grant had to thank Selina for teaching him how to read people. You were really going to call us that? Grant said before laughing as he saw Batman's face didn't change. You were serious, weren't you? Grant asked, getting a nod from Batman. Well, it's your team, so how about you decide? Huntress suggested. I got one. The Avengers. Grant exclaimed as Jade shook her head no. You really need to stop reading Marvel Comics, Grant. It's not good for you. Jade remarked, seeing her friend STILL liked to read stuff about Iron Man and Spider-Man. And you have a Bleach problem, but you don't hear me complaining. I mean, besides, Avengers Assemble sounds too cool to pass up. Grant replied, giving his reason for the name. How about Outsiders? Naruto suggested to the group. Why Outsiders? Question asked with interest in his voice. That's what we all are, right? I'm from another dimension, Calder's from Atlantis. Jade is a modern-day assassin, Grant's a thief, Megan's from Mars, and Superboy was born from a test tube. No offense. Naruto answered, hoping not to have offended anyone with his labeling. None taken. Superboy replied as he got over being in a test tube. Outsiders, huh? Yeah, that could work. Grant said while toying with the name for a bit. Outsiders it is then. Batman taught it as the covert ops team was about to start. Morning training was going on in Mount Justice. At the moment the gym on base was filled with Grant, Jade, and Naruto. Jade and Naruto were each running on a treadmill while Grant was lifting weights. Hey Jade. Grant called while putting the weights down and walking towards the 2 ninjas. Yes, Grant. Jade replied while stopping the treadmill. I thought you stopped the whole cloak and dagger thing. Grant asked as Jade got off the treadmill and took a sip of water from the fountain in the room. I haven't done anything like that since 2 years ago. I'm a thief just like you now, and if you forgot, you were the person who stole my first assignment. Jade said before punching Grant in the arm lightly. Wait, I thought I told you. She asked. Ed while sitting on one of the chairs in the room. You did, but last week Green Arrow said you were still doing them. Grant replied as Naruto walked towards them. Arrow was stereotyping me, like most the public do. Jade answered. What does stereotyping mean? The blonde asked in a confused voice. Not hearing that word before. Stereotyping is a popular belief about a specific social groups or types of individuals. Jade informed the blonde, who still had a confused look on his face. I still don't get it. Naruto replied in a confused tone once again. It's like saying all ninjas wear black. Grant said as Naruto knew that wasn't true at all. Heck, he used to wear orange before common sense in the form of Jiraiya kicked in. That's just stupid. They don't even know you. Naruto remarked. At how people can quickly judge a person. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the public eye works. Grant remarked. The public's not that smart. Naruto commented before getting a sip of water. No kidding. Jade said as Batman walked into the room. Getting the trio's attention. Meet me in the meeting room in 5. Batman announced before leaving the gym area. The trio got up and went to the meeting room. Meeting room. 9:10 a.m. EST. The meeting room was medium-sized as it had about 5 chairs and a huge monitor in the center of the room. The group of three walked in and saw Batman was in there along with Black Canary. Now that you three are here, let's begin, Batman stated to the group of three. Wait, Superboy, Megan, and Calder aren't here, Naruto said as the other three members of the group were not present. Not every mission will need a team effort, the Dark Knight replied as the lights in the room went off as multiple images appeared on the monitor. One was a man wearing a white suit but his entire face was covered in a black mask. The second image was a round man wearing black suit with a top hat that covered his red hair. In his hands was an umbrella. The third image was a building called the Iceberg Lounge, while the fourth image was a symbol of a golden snake which was inside of a orb. Black Mask is supposed to be negotiating a deal between Cobra and the League of Shadows tonight. Now this event is being held at Penguin's Iceberg Lounge, Black Canary explained while getting a nod from the three. Our operative, who was a former mobster, is working for Penguin. Yesterday we learned that she caught the flu and could not attend the event. Case in point, Jade will be going to the event dressed as her with Grant and Naruto being her security detail. Batman informed the trio. What does she look like? Jade asked with interest in her voice. Just like you, Black Canary answered before bringing her image up on the screen. The two looked so similar that they could pass for twins. So I take it we're going to have to dress up for this party? Grant asked, getting a nod from Black Canary. I already took the liberty of picking out your suits, Batman informed Naruto and Grant, who nodded. So how are we going to get there? Jade asked as Gotham City was far away from Washington, D.C. You'll be riding with me, Batman answered before walking towards the door. 15 minutes before I go back to Gotham. Be in the garage by then. As the man dressed in blacks left the room. Good luck. I have a feeling you're going to need it, Black Canary said before leaving the room as well. Hey Jade, I finished my side project. I'll give it to you when we meet in the garage, Naruto stated before leaving the room to change clothes. Side project? Grant asked with interest in his voice. He saw your ex phone and wanted to make something like that for his suit, Jade informed Grant, who nodded. Grant's ex phone was a device that stored his suit. He demonstrated how it worked. He would dial up a number, slide the phone into his belt buckle, and boom, his red X suit was on him. So that's why he was locked in his room last weekend, Grant commented, getting a nod from Jade. Let's get ready. We don't want to keep Batman waiting, Jade stated as the two went back to their rooms to change and pack their things for the trip. Garage. 9:45 a.m. Est. Batman was waiting in his vehicle, the Batmobile. This version of the vehicle was able to seat up to 4 people including himself. He wanted to get something bigger, but that was for another time. He heard the door open as Grant took the passenger seat while Jade and Naruto were stuck being in the back. I thought shotgun was a weapon, Naruto asked as they had explained a few things about firearms to the blonde. It's a long story. I'll be sure to tell you later, Jade answered. Buckle up, Batman informed them before revving up the engine. Show off, Grant thought to himself as he only had his X-Cycle Wick. He had to admit that at the moment it was failing into comparison of the legendary Batmobile. Hang on, Batman stated before stepping on the gas as they were now on their way to Gotham City. Gotham City, 1:15 p.m. Est. The group of 4 was now on the streets of Gotham. Who knew that the Batmobile could turn an almost 6-hour ride down to 3.5? At the moment, Batman had pulled up into an old warehouse and got out the vehicle. All right, you three, this is where you will be stationed at for the time being, Batman informed the 3 who got out the vehicle. This place is old and worn down, Grant complained as Batman hit a switch as the inside of the warehouse changed into a small base for the trio. Looks can be deceiving. Now remember that you have to be at the Iceberg Lounge by 9 o'clock sharp, Batman stated to the 3 who nodded. Don't worry, we'll be there, Naruto said, getting a nod from the Bat-themed hero who went back into his vehicle. Where will you be? Grant asked the Caped Crusader. Protecting my city, Batman said before leaving the 3 to their mission prep or whatever they would do to kill time before their mission took place. So what do we do until then? Grant asked the 2. You can show Grant that side project now, Jade suggested to Naruto, who pulled out 2 watches. One watch was green and black while the other was silver and black. After seeing Grant's X phone, I asked myself, could I come up with something like that? After remembering a few things about seals, I went to work and came up with this. Naruto explained while holding the watches in front of him. So how did they work? Grant asked, looking at the watches with interest. Simple. Me and Jade channel chakra into the watch. A gray light in my case goes over my entire body. The light is produced by the seals that contain our cloths. A few seconds later, boom. Ghost and Cheshire are here. Naruto explained while handing Jade her watch, who put it on and tried to activate the seal. It's not working, Jade said to the blonde seal master. Their voice activated as well. You just say Henshin while putting chakra into the watch and boom, Cheshire is here. Naruto said as Jade decided to test it out. Henshin. Jade muttered as she felt the seals cover her entire form was covered with a green light for a few seconds as she was now Cheshire. Nice. Grant commented, seeing that it actually worked. He was shocked to see that her weapons were also on her. You were able to put my weapons and my mask in. Your mastery over seals are amazing. Cheshire said as Naruto blushed a bit. It was easy. Now just say power down and you're back to being Jade. Naruto informed the black-haired ninja, who said power down as she was back to being Jade. If only I was a ninja. Grant muttered to himself, while thinking how cool he would have been if he could do that, but hey, technology was his calling, and compared to those two, his skills were far superior than those two combined. I have to get ready for this party. I have to learn how to be Ms. Kasumi Hana. Jade stated to the two, who nodded. So what do you say we explore Gotham a bit? Grant suggested, getting a nod from Naruto. Let's do it. Naruto replied as the two went into Gotham City to explore the town Batman protected. Iceberg Lounge. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The famous Iceberg Lounge. One of Gotham City's nicest club areas where people can go to relax after a hard day. At the moment, the Arctic-themed lounge was only open to those on the list. Most people understood as the owner of said lounge would only do this when someone exclusive was coming to town. You two ready? Jade asked as she was dressed in a green and black dress which seemed to fit her figure quite nicely. At least that's what Grant told her. Beside her were Naruto and Grant, who were wearing their hand-picked suits. Naruto's suit was black and blue while Grant's was black and red. Of course, Grant answered as they were at the entrance door. Names please. The security guard asked the trio. Under Kasumi Hana, kind sir. Jade answered as the guard flipped through his papers before spotting the name. I see you, Ms. Hana. Walk on in, he replied while opening the doors to the lounge. The three walked into the ice-themed lounge. They had to say that this place looked nice. Naruto had to admit it looked similar to a club Jiraiya had taken him in when they went to Yuki no Kuni. I'm so glad you could make it, Kasumi. A person said in an excited tone while walking towards the trio. They saw that it was none other than Oswald Cobblepot coming to greet them. You know I wouldn't miss this, Penguin, or is it Mr. Cobblepot tonight? Jade said, trying to make a joke. Something Kasumi would usually do when talking to people. Penguin let out a few chuckles seeing as he got the joke. Still have that sense of humor, I see. Anyway, go ahead up to the second floor. We're about to begin shortly. Penguin informed the trio, who went up the stairs and saw a huge table that had Black Mask sitting at the very end of it, as beside him was his female assistant Ms. Lee. As on the right side of the table was a person who made Jade's heart stopped for a second. The person was an old man with long gray hair on the side of his head along with a gray beard. His attire was an open red robe that showed off his muscular body as he wore a pair of black pants as well as black shoes. This person was known as Sensei. The person who trained her to be an assassin was in this very room. Beside him were two other people who were covered by black cloaks. Jade guessed they were guards from the League of Shadows. On the right side of the table were 5 people who Jade guessed were from the Cobra cult due to the golden snake symbol on their green cloaks. Now that everyone is here, I would like to begin the negotiations between Cobra and the League of Shadows. Black Mask announced as Ms. Lee was typing down every word. Sensei stood up and cleared his throat. I will start off. Speaking on behalf of the League, we would like to know what Cobra is planning so I can make a decision on whether or not we will help you in your efforts or not. Sensei stated to the group as one member stood up. Cobra is planning on recreating the infamous venom formula Bane is known for. The member from Cobra informed the people in the room. How would you recreate his formula? Sensei asked with interest in his voice. We have already captured and seized Santa Prisca. For those who don't know, Santa Prisca is where Bane apparently set up shop so that he could make his venom. With the Island under Cobra control, we are working on evolving the formula. He informed the people in the room, who gasped except for Naruto, who was still new to the world. Interesting indeed. What do you need us for exactly? Sensei asked, not getting why they need the League of Shadows for anyway. For one, we need a business partner who would provide security for our scientist working on the formula, and 2, we need someone to test the formula on once it's complete. The man answered once again. Sensei was now in deep thought at the moment before deciding to make his reply. I will need to be excused for the moment. I have a phone call to make, I'm sure you understand. Sensei said before leaving the table. We'll meet back here in 10 minutes or so. Penguin announced to the group of people, who nodded. Jade went to find her former teacher, leaving Naruto and Grant with Black Mask and Ms. Lee with Jade. 9:20 p.m. Est. She was currently approaching Sensei. She was shocked to see that he was representing the League of Shadow. The only thing he did was stay in the shadows than be outside. She guessed that this meeting was an important matter, seeing as he was the oldest one in the league. Your name is Sensei, right? Jade asked while walking towards the man, who turned around. Jade, please don't think I'm that old to recognize one of my students. Let alone my favorite student. Sensei answered in a happy tone as Jade stood there in shock for a second. I'm still your favorite? Jade asked, getting a nod from the elderly man. Of course, now it's been 2 years since I've seen you, Jade. So why don't you tell me how's your life been since escaping the league? Sensei said to Jade. I've been doing pretty good, Sensei. I've decided to become a thief, seeing as their lifestyle is easier than what I used to do. Jade answered as Sensei nodded. I hope your skills haven't dulled, Jade. You're going to need them for the future. Sensei replied in a serious tone as Jade had a confused look on her face. What are you talking about, Sensei? She questioned in a confused tone as the man cleared his throat before replying. Your former comrades are out to kill you, Jade. It appears that Son of Min He was able to cloud their minds with lies. I'm not sure what he told them exactly, but I know for a fact that they will come to kill you if they ever see you again. Sensei explained in a serious tone as Jade nodded her head. She was expecting them to hate her, but to come out and kill her. I understand, Sensei. Jade replied as the man pulled out a white and black scroll from his robe. Here, Jade, I wasn't able to mail it to you. Consider it a late birthday present. Sensei said while giving her the scroll. Jade couldn't believe what he was giving her. Sensei, I can't take this. I mean, this is, Jade started before being cut off. I know, Jade. That's why I'm giving it to you along with this as well. Sensei said before handing Jade a black scroll with a green viper coiled around it. You know I can't accept that scroll, Sensei. I don't do that type of work anymore. Jade stated while pushing the scroll away. I know you don't, but you should know by now I hate seeing my students unprepared. Besides, I was able to edit a few of the killing techniques in the scroll. I made it so they can paralyze your opponents now rather than killing them. Sensei informed her as Jade hesitantly took the scroll. I have one last gift for you, Jade. It's a ticket for Tetsu's shop. Just give it to her and she'll know what to do. Sensei said before giving her the gray ticket. I don't know what to say, Sensei. Jade said as she was lost for words. Promise me that you will help your friends see the light, Jade. I know my son used more than just words to persuade your former comrades. Also stay alive for me, will you? I'm taking a well-needed vacation Jump City in the spring and I need someone to show me around. Sensei replied as Jade smiled. It was always like Sensei to have a serious conversation. Before saying something to make you smile or laugh. I will, Sensei. I guarantee it. Jade said, promising that she will be just fine. Very well then, Jade. Now go on back up. I'll be there in a moment. Sensei replied as Jade left Sensei to his thoughts. Jade, you like the daughter I never had. I just hope you're ready for whatever my son has in store for you. Sensei thought to himself before pulling out another scroll that was white with a black dragon going around it. The scroll was actually glowing white. I guess you found someone worthy, huh? As the scroll was glowing even more as though it heard him. Lead the way then. As the scroll started to tug him towards its new owner. With Naruto. 9:30 p.m. Est. He had to admit that this lounge was nice. He was able to just talk to new people without being on guard all the time. This new life of his was nice as a man wearing a red and golden robe approached him. Hello. The elderly man said, greeting the blonde. You're this sensei guy, right? Naru. To asked, getting a chuckle out of sensei. Indeed I am, young one. Sensei answered in a sage-like tone. You know, for an old man you look built. Naruto said as the man looked similar to Jiraiya. Well, muscle-wise that is. Well, my job calls for it. Anyway, I'm here to give you a gift. On behalf of my organization. Sensei said before presenting Naruto with the scroll. Naruto touched the scroll and actually felt a power go through him for a second or two. Thank you. Naruto replied, as that was the only thing he could say at a time like this. Promise me something, boy. Look after my daughter Jade for me, alright? I don't want her to get into something she can't escape from. Sensei said in a serious tone, shocking Naruto. Naruto guessed that this was Jade's grandfather, seeing as she didn't mention him in her story she told them. You can count on me. Naruto replied with confidence in his voice. Good to know. Sensei said before leaving the blonde. This scroll feels different. I'll have to open it later on. Naruto thought to himself as Penguin announced that the 10 minutes were up. Everyone was now back at the table waiting for the discussions to start back up again. So Sensei, I would like to know what is your answer? The male Cobra member from before asked. Well, on behalf of the League of Shadows. Sensei started off before the doors to the Iceberg Lounge were blown off their hinges. As a loud laugh filled the room. Oh no. Penguin muttered to himself while seeing the person who walked. Sorry I'm late, boys and girls, but have no fear as the Joker is here. A man wearing a purple and green suit announced while making his way to the center of the room. The damn clown is here. I thought he was locked up in Arkham. Black Mask said in disbelief that the clown prince of Gotham was here. What can I say, Black Mask? I was let out for good behavior. Joker stated while walking over to a table that had a glass of water on it. He picked up the cup and took a quick sip. Now I was a little shocked. Penguin was having this fancy shindig and I wasn't invited. As the last part was said in a sad tone. Like I would invite you anyway, Joker. Penguin replied, causing the clown-faced villain to gasp in shock. I feel so betrayed, but I don't really care. Joker said the last part in a serious tone before throwing the glass at the wall. Now I don't want to ruin your night. So me and a couple of my aces will be providing you with so good old-fashioned entertainment. While multiple people wearing different colored suit walked into the lounge. They all saw that they had on clown face paint so they couldn't identify them. Entertainment, you say? Sensei asked with interest in his voice. In his mind, life was starting to get good. Yes, old-timer. Entertainment that is sure to keep everyone smiling. Joker replied before his people started to destroy the place. Just what are you doing, Joker? Penguin shouted while watching the clown's henchmen were destroying his place. I'm being entertained here, Penguin. Oh, smash the picture. Joker ordered as one of his henchmen smashed a picture frame, causing Penguin to scream. I'm not being entertained. Sensei complained, not enjoying the so-called performance. Oh, don't worry. I'm just getting to the good part here. Rob them all, and if they don't comply, off with their heads. Joker said with excitement on the last part of his statement. As his henchmen were making their way up to the second floor. I don't intend on being robbed today, clown. Black Mask replied before punching one of the henchmen, sending them flying down the stairs. Time for plan B then. Joker replied before putting on a gas mask. As a dark green gas started to come out of the vents of the room. Joker gas. Everyone get out. Penguin shouted. As they made their way to the door only to find it being blocked by a van. Don't forget to smile. The Joker announced from outside the building. He was able to slip out and move his van in front of the broken door just in time. We have to get out of here. Black Mask said as everyone was trying to get out of the lounge. A few people were already falling to the laughing gas. With Jade, Naruto, and Grant. 9:37 p.m. Est. They were still on the second floor as they watched a few of the waiters fall to the laughing gas. The group of three had to come up with a plan quick. I can get us out, but I need to be Ghost. Naruto stated to the two as Grant pulled out his phone. Well, let's do it then. Grant said before dialing a number on the phone as his belt changed into his gray utility belt. He OSED his phone to reveal a red X glowing on the screen. Stand by. A robotic voice announced. Henshin. The trio said as Jade and Naruto's suits were on them. While Grant slid his phone into his utility belt. Complete. A robotic voice from his phone announced as the red X suit was now on Grant. What's your plan, Ghost? Cheshire asked the blonde shinobi. Just watch. Grab whoever is not affected by the gas and get them out of here. Ghost ordered as Cheshire and Red X were using their own teleporting techniques respectively to get some people to safety while Ghost was now in front of the blocked door. A true sage is able to use any of the 5 main elements once he puts his mind to it. Those were the words Fukusaku had told him before entering his fight with Madara. If you're right, abo. Oot this Fukusaku, then I will keep to our bet. Naruto thought to himself while going through hand signs for a technique Kakashi taught him before his final battle. If Fukusaku was right, then he should be able to do this. If not, then let's just say there will be a lot more teleporting. Water style. Grand waterfall technique. Ghost shouted as he channeled chakra into the fountains present in the lounge. For a second nothing happened before a column of water started to circle Naruto before it went towards the door, causing the van along with whatever else was blocking the door to be blown away by the sheer force. Looks like this world will get to read Make Out Paradise then. I know you're somewhere laughing, sensei. Naruto thought to himself before helping the police evacuate people from the building. As Black Mask approached Ghost with his assistant right beside him. I just wanted to say thank you. If you need anything done, then please let me know. Black Mask stated to Ghost. His friend's D saved not only his life but his assistant's life as well. If you can inform me on events going on in Gotham from time to time, then consider us even. Ghost replied as Black Mask gave him a business card. My office whenever you get the chance to drop by. Come on, Ms. Lee. We have things to do. Black Mask stated as he and his assistant left the scene. Well, that went well. Red X commented seeing the people were getting treated. Let's leave before the media gets here. Cheshire said before the trio left the area. Mount Justice. November 11th, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The trio was now back at Mount Justice. Thanks to Batman teleporting them back to Mount Justice. After informing Batman on what happened at the event, he had to say that he was impressed on how they were able to evacuate the civilians on such short notice. The trio was still in their alternate attires. Well, go get some rest. I'm sure you'll need it. Batman informed the three, who nodded in agreement. I couldn't have said it, Ghost RTED to say before he disappeared before their eyes in a yellow flash. As the group of three were now shocked as to where Ghost had disappeared to. It was morning time, which meant training was going on. Right now Calder, Megan, and Connor were training with Huntress in hand-to-hand combat. In the circular ring, Connor was currently on the floor while Huntress was standing tall. Superboy failed. He computer announced throughout the room. You did good back there. You just need to react better. Huntress stated while offering Connor a hand to get up. Connor took her hand and got up. Wait, thought you were supposed to control the battle. Megan asked as Black Canary taught them differently. That's what Black Canary wants you to think. In a fight it's all about reacting. Whether it's blow, seeking a punch, or moving the hell out the way. I mean, sure, it's okay to be in control, but that can lead you to doing the same thing over and over. Huntress explained to the Martian, who understood her point of view. Interesting point of view. Then again, you and Black Canary have two different ways of fighting after all. A voice stated while walking into the room. The group saw that it was none other than Question. What do you want, Q? Huntress asked. I thought I asked the questions around here. After all, it comes with my name. Question replied coolly while walking into the circular ring. Very funny. Calder commented as Question smirked underneath his mask. These kids liked him. Finally, kids who didn't think he was creepy was such a relief. A quick question for the three teenagers here. What is in Metropolis? Question asked the three. Superman, Connor said with excitement in his voice. Hoping that he would be able to finally see the man whose DNA runs through his veins. Close but no cigar. Question replied as the other two members started to think. The Daily Planet. Megan guessed, seeing as it was a landmark in the big city. A landmark, but no. Question said as Calder started to think harder about the question at hand. Supergirl. Calder said to Question, getting a nod from him. The boy from Atlantis wins. He not only outsmarted a Martian but a Kryptonian as well, folks. Question stated as Megan and Connor held their heads down in defeat. So what's their mission? Question. Huntress asked with interest in her voice. You ruined all the fun by spoiling it. I wanted to ask more questions. Question answered as the three were happy Huntress was here, or else they may have been here all day playing 21 questions with the master of the game. Where are Naruto, Jade, and Grant? I'm sure they don't want to miss out on this. Calder asked. They have a mission of their own. Question answered once again. On with the mission details. Connor said as Stian cleared this throat before beginning. It appears that Supergirl is having these weird dreams. Now from what I hear, she is having dreams of experiencing things she has never done before. If you know me, then you should know that I have about 100 different theories about this, but I won't get into them. Question explained to the four others in the room. Hold your horses. A voice called out while walking into the room. They saw that it was none other than Green Arrow. No one asked for more help. This whole trip might just prove the kid shouldn't eat nachos before bed. The archer stated before crossing his arms. Peanut butter sandwiches. Question said in a correcting tone. Shocking everyone in the room. What, you go through her trash? Green Arrow asked while glaring at Question a bit. Please. I go through everyone's trash. Question answered in a simple tone while shrugging of Green Arrow's glare. So why are you here, Green Arrow? Huntress asked the archer. Me and Supergirl are going to STA.R labs in a few hours. I just wanted to tell No Face here. Green Arrow answered. I'll be there, Green Arrow. Along with a few friends, of course. Question replied as Green Arrow left the room. So we're going with you then? Megan asked, getting a nod from the man wearing the fedora. You will, but it will be out of sight. From what Jean told me, Megan has a ship, correct? Question said as Megan nodded. So we're taking the ship to STA.R labs then? Connor asked, making sure he heard the plan correctly. Indeed. I want you three to get a head start and go to STA.R labs branch in Metropolis before me. Green Arrow and Supergirl show up. Call it an infiltration mission and write down whatever you can gather, alright? Question stated to the group of three. We will, you can count on us. Megan said as Question left the room. Well, let's get ready then. We'll meet you in the hangar, Megan. Calder said as the trio went to their separate rooms and packed what they may need for the mission ahead. Hangar. 9:45 a.m. Est. Calder and Connor were in the hangar looking at what seemed to be a giant red and black egg. The two had guessed it was Megan's ship, seeing as the Batwing wasn't here. Megan had now entered the hangar and was walking towards them. The two saw that she had a black kunai on her waist. You use kunais, Megan? Calder asked the Martian, who shook her head no. Not really. It was something Naruto gave me while we were in the Cadmus building. He told me to use it if we were separated. Megan explained to the duo, who nodded at the information. So it's like a teleporter then? Connor said, making a guess about the kunai. You can say that because it only teleports him to my location. He told me the original kunai was supposed to be yellow, but he was able to make it with a regular kunai. Megan informed them, who nodded. So where is your ship? Calder asked as Megan pointed to the black and red egg. How are we going to get into that egg? Asked as Megan let out a giggle at Connor's question. Silly, it's in sleep mode. Megan said in a simple tone like it was common knowledge. Martian technology is interesting indeed. Calder come. NTED while Megan waved her hand in front of the ship as the egg shifted into the bio ship. The two saw the back of the ship open up. Come on, you two, Megan said to the two males, who grabbed their bags and boarded the ship. STA.R labs. 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The trio was approaching the lab. Megan had the bio ship in camouflage mode as they were closing in on the STA.R lab. So how are we going to get in? Connor asked the other two in the ship. I can see if they have an entrance on the canyon side. Calder suggested as the lab was on top of a hill with the back of the lab facing the canyon side as an ocean was at the bottom of it. Hey Connor. Megan called out, gaining his attention. Did you bring your camera? Of course. Connor said before digging into his bag and bringing out a Nikon digital camera. Why did you ask? I think I found our way in. Megan stated before explaining her plan to the two males on the ship. That just may work, but we're going to need timing. Calder said as the two nodded before putting the plan into action. With Aqualad. 11:25 a.m. Est. He was currently climbing up the rocky hillside of the STA.R lab. Right now he was halfway up the hill. I should have had Megan dropped me off, but that would have drawn attention. Calder thought to himself as he finally reached the top of the hill. He pulled himself up the edge and was now in the back of STA.R lab's building. Let's see How am I going to get in? Calder thought to himself while looking for a way to get in. He saw a truck approaching a loading dock and decided to go with that opening. The truck started to unload multiple boxes as Aqualad was able to get into the building no problem. Aqualad pressed his belt buckle as his once red shirt turned black. He also put on a mask that covered his nose on down. "All right, Megan, I'm in the building," Aqualad said while holding the comm link for a few seconds. "We'll proceed as planned then," Megan replied as Aqualad started to see what exactly was in this building. With Megan, 11:30 a.m. Est. She and Connor were currently in a black BMW as they made their way towards the STAR Labs building. Right now Megan was disguised as a Caucasian girl with long black hair wearing a black skirt, a white blouse, a black business jacket and black heels. Connor was now wearing a pair of blue pants, a white dress shirt, and black shoes as he had his camera around his neck. The two were disguised as reporters from the Gotham City Times. "Are you ready, Mr. Johnson?" Megan asked while parking the car, which was really the bio ship. Who knew it could shift shape into different vehicles? "Lead the way, Ms. Williams," Connor replied as the two got out the car and went into the building. They walked in and saw a man wearing a lab coat along with a pair of tan pants, brown shoes, a light blue shirt with a dark blue tie, and glasses. "Who are you two?" the man questioned while looking at the two with suspicion. "I'm a reporter for the Gotham City Times. My cameraman is Mr. Johnson and my name is Ms. Williams. We are supposed to do an interview today," Megan said, introducing herself to the man. "Reporters, I'm sorry but you have to leave," the man informed the TWO as Connor narrowed his eyes and read his name tag. "Wait, you're Professor Hamilton," Connor said in shocked tone, getting a nod from the man. "I've read all about your scientific findings in Science Weekly. A fan of my theories. Why didn't you say so?" Professor Hamilton said before walking towards a door. "Don't just stand there, follow me." As the two went through the door and saw that they were in a lab with a medic bed in the center of the room. "So would you mind if I asked a few questions, Professor Hamilton?" Megan asked the man who pulled out 3 chairs. "Please take a seat and let's begin this interview," Professor Hamilton answered as Megan pulled out a tape recorder. Question 1. What do you think about how science is evolving in today's times? Megan questioned as Professor Hamilton started to answer the question. With Aqualad, 11:35 a.m. Est. So far the building seemed to be safe. He almost had a run-in with a few scientists, but so far he found nothing. That was until a group of scientists started to file out a room. He quickly went behind a corner and hid there. "So what do you think about Galatea?" a scientist asked her fellow collages. "I think she would perform well. I mean, after all, this is Professor Hamilton's greatest project after all," a male scientist answered. "Hey, did you hear about what happened to Mark Desmond?" another female scientist asked the group she was walking in. "Yeah, it's pretty sad. I mean, he actually turned into Project Blockbuster and had to fight off the League of Shadows himself before the Justice League got involved," another male scientist replied, remembering the news about the former head scientist. The League of Shadows weren't there, Calder thought while listening to their conversation. "I heard the League of Shadows sent Cheshire along with Red X and another vigilante to steal information from Cadmus," the first female said to the others. "I thought Aqualad was there as well," the first male said in a confused tone. "Yeah, he was helping out a few scientists who were still in the building. He saved Joe and Bill's life," the second female answered while remembering the article she read. "So what happened to Project Kerr?" the second male asked as he hadn't been filled in on the recent events as of late. "They say the League of Shadows took him and are training him to be an assassin," the first female answered. "It's a shame, but luckily we still have Galatea on our side," the first scientist said as they left the hallway they were in. "Interesting, so Cadmus along with STAR Labs think Connor is with the League of Shadows," Aqualad thought to himself before entering the room they were once in. He saw that the room had a few monitors in it as he was facing a glass wall, as on the other side of it was a gym. He saw a glimpse of a woman with short blonde hair and blue eyes, as she wore a white costume which showed off her cleavage, as on her hands were a pair of white gloves while on her feet was a pair of white heels. Was that Galatea? Calder asked himself before the women in question appeared in front of the glass. Hey Professor Johnson, can you bring me a peanut butter sandwich please? Galatea asked in a soft tone. Aqualad pressed a button on a microphone in order to reply. Sure, I'll be back in a minute. Aqualad said before releasing the button. I need to call the others and get out of here. Aqualad thought to himself before pressing his comm link. Connor, I'm going back to the rally point. Aqualad informed the Kryptonian, who took a few seconds to respond. We'll meet you there. Connor replied as Aqualad made his way out the room. He turned the corner as he ran into the group of scientists from earlier. It's an assassin from the League of Shadows. A male called out with shock in his voice that they were here. Run! A female shouted as Aqualad made his way out of the building as the alarms went off. He heard multiple footsteps coming towards his location as he approached the cliff edge. Stop right there! A security guard shouted while holding his firearm up. I think not. Aqualad replied coolly before jumping off the cliff and landing in the water. We have to report this to Professor Hamilton. A security guard informed his teammates, who nodded. With Megan and Connor. 11:50 a.m. Est. The interview was going along well. Connor had to step out the room for a bit to answer his phone, which was Aqualad. He went back into the room to see Megan was writing down Professor Hamilton's latest answer. He had to admit they were able to get a lot out of him. From different theories to his views of the Justice League. This had gone well until the alarms started to go off. A minute later a few security guards came into the room. Sir, a guard said, gaining Hamilton's attention. It appears the shadows have struck again. Quote, what do you mean? Professor Hamilton asked in an angry tone. It was a person wearing all black. From what one of the scientists said. He was able to see Galatea. A security guard informed Professor Hamilton, who was shocked. Lock this place down at once. Professor Hamilton ordered before letting out a big sigh. I apologize about this turn of events, but I will have to ask you to leave. It's all right, Professor Hamilton. I'm sure we can reschedule our interview if I do not have enough information. Megan stated to the professor, who nodded. Very well then. Take my card and I'll walk you out. Professor Hamilton said before giving them a card and walking them out the building. As soon as they were out, 3 people were walking towards the building. The 2 recognized Green Arrow in question but didn't recognize the blonde with long hair and blue eyes, who wore a white shirt that went to her midriff. On the shirt was the Kryptonian symbol. She also wore a blue skirt, red boots, and a red cape. The 2 guessed that this was Supergirl. Afternoon, Doc. Green Arrow called out, greeting the professor. We have a few questions we want you to answer. Supergirl stated in a serious tone. Well, I want to, but I can't. It appears the League of Shadows have reared their ugly head. Professor Hamilton informed the 3 heroes. All the more reason of us to come in. Question said before letting himself in as Supergirl and Green Arrow followed him. Megan and Connor went to the car and drove off. With Aqualad. 12 p.m. Est. He was now underwater at the moment. So far the mission was going well. He was brought out of his thoughts when he saw a line make its way down to his location. He grabbed onto the line and was brought up into the bio ship. He saw that Megan was now in her stealth suit attire while Connor was wearing his usual clothing. League of Shadows. Connor asked as Calder pulled the face mask off. Long story, how did the interview go? Calder replied as a beep went off in the bio ship. Incoming call from Question. Megan announced, letting the 2 know who was calling them. League of Shadows, huh? Question said to the trio as Calder nodded in response. A long story. Question. How did your session with Hamilton go? Calder asked, wanting to know if they got any information. He was on edge if anything. I have a feeling he wouldn't have answered our questions regardless. Question informed the others as another beep went off in the bio ship. Incoming helicopters coming to your location. Question. Megan informed the masked man as their ship was camouflage. Someone's ducking. Questions. We'll be all right, you 3 go back to Mount Justice. I'll contact you when I get a lead. Question replied as the 3 young heroes left the location and went back to Mount Justice and put together what they had so far. Mount Justice. 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Calder, Megan, and Connor were currently putting together what information they had so far on a glass whiteboard that was in the middle of the room. The trio wasn't having so much success solving this puzzle. Have you ever heard of Galatea? Calder asked Connor, hoping he may have heard of her. The name doesn't ring a bell. Connor replied as he too was thinking about Galatea. From the description Calder gave the two, she seemed like an older version of Supergirl. What if she's a clone? You know, after they lost you, it would only be logical if they found something or someone to replace their loss. Megan suggested to the two. That just may be it, Megan. Calder said, going with the Martian's idea before writing it on the glass whiteboard with a blue marker. So Cadmus and STAR Labs are working together in order to get back at the League of Shadows. Connor concluded as me. Gon and Calder nodded at the theory at hand. Let's contact Question at once. Megan said as they heard a beep, which meant a call was coming in. It's Question, Connor announced before pressing the B button, letting the holographic image of Question appear on screen. I need you three to go to Nouveau Gen at once in costume. I think I just cracked this case wide open. Question informed the trio. We'll get there as soon as we can, let's go. Calder replied as Huntress and Black Canary came into the room. Hey guys, Huntress said as the trio ran past them. We wish we could stay and talk, but we have a place to be. Calder replied from halfway down the hall. We'll be here, not doing anything at all. Black Canary said as the duo watched them go to the hangar. Seems like they were busy. Hunters S commented while looking at the glass whiteboard, which had a lot of information on it. Who is Galatea? Black Canary asked while reading the notes they left on the board. Maybe they'll tell us once they get back. Huntress answered as the two continued to read the glass board, which had different theories on it. Nouveau General Building, September 12, 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Megan was able to land the bioship a few feet away from the building. Megan had the ship disguised as truck as the trio got out the car and went towards the building's front entrance. Once they got to the front, they saw that Question was singing. Fell in love again. What am I going to tell my friends? He sang while looking at the lock on the door. It just happened. As he brought his right hand to his chin, wondering how he would get in. You walked in my door. He looked to his right and saw a large pot with a plant in. He walked towards the plant and picked it up and walked back to the door. And now I don't want to be alone no more, he said before throwing the pot through the glass door as the alarm started to go off. Oops, I done it. I told you how I feel. Just hope that this time our love is real. He finished before walking through the broken glass door. Are you three coming or what? Question asked as the trio came into the building and followed him. Do we need to turn off the security cameras or what? Superboy asked, making sure they weren't seen. Arrow took care of that. Question answered, seeing that all the security monitors were indeed off. As they heard a loud boom go through the building. Follow me please, Question said, taking the lead in finding the room. Nouveau Gen Training Ground, September 12, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With Green Arrow. He was on the ground. Why, you may ask? Well, the answer was simple. He was sent flying by a woman who said she was Supergirl's clone. Oh, how he wished that it was just the nachos before bed thing. He heard a door open and saw Question along with Miss Martian, Superboy, and Aqualad. Anything break? Question asked his fellow comrade while walking towards the Archer. Just my stride, Green Arrow answered in a joking tone before getting up as another loud boom occurred. Superboy immediately ran towards the area at a fast speed. Nap's over. Aqualad, contact whoever is at Mount Justice. Tell them we might need backup. Question stated as Aqualad couldn't get through. I can't get through, Question, the radio's jammed. Aqualad informed the group. I have an idea, Miss Martian said while unhooking the kunai from her waist. I don't see what a kunai would do in this situation. No offense. Green Arrow replied as another loud boom occurred as Galatea was sent flying across the room. I can get Ghost here, Megan explained while holding the kunai in her hand. Well, throw it then, Aqualad said as she threw the kunai into the sky. As a few seconds later Ghost appeared. I'm going to have to catch my breath. Just give me a minute, Ghost informed the group before taking a few deep breaths. Amazing, Green Arrow commented, seeing him teleport here without a Zeta beam. We're going to have to talk about using that kunai later. Now what's the situation? Ghost T asked as Superboy was sent flying over to their location. Superboy, Megan said with concern while using her telekinesis to catch him from hitting a building. What happened? Aqualad asked the Clo. Nehu was now on the ground thanks to Megan. Galatea sent me flying. That's what happened, Superboy answered in a simple tone. Well, let's move then, Ghost said as they went towards Supergirl's location. With Supergirl. In the past few minutes a lot has happened. She and Green Arrow were now in a situation with a clone of herself. A male named Superboy had come to her rescue. She was lost for words seeing another person wearing the Kryptonian symbol for hope on their chest. At the moment she was down on the ground with Galatea standing tall over her. The link you two have works both ways, doesn't it? Question asked the women in white, who turned to face the question along with a few other people she never seen before. While she was seeing what you were doing, you had to deal with her conscious. Question continued as Galatea turned her back on him. It bites having someone in your head, doesn't it? You don't know what you're talking about. Galatea answered while Question walked closer to the Supergirl clone. No. Prove it. Kill me. Question stated to the clone that was now facing him with her left fist cocked back. Her hands started to shake. As Question started to back away slowly as Supergirl brought a huge truck down on her. This caused a powerful explosion. A minute later Galatea was up only to be hit by a car grill which sent her back about 2 feet. We have to help her, Superboy said to Question. We'll wait to strike. Question informed the group, who nodded. Galatea ran towards Supergirl. As they were a few inches away, an explosion came from underground which sent Supergirl along with Galatea back. Let's move, Ghost shouted as they ran out of the building just in time as the entire Nouveau General building exploded. Made it out just in time, Aqualad comment. While seeing the building was done for. Hey Superboy, can I talk to you alone for a few minutes? Supergirl asked the clone, who nodded. Let's give them some space, kids. Green Arrow suggested as they left the two Kryptonians alone. Look, I saw that you didn't have complete mastery over your powers. Supergirl started off. I'm Superman's clone. What do you expect? Superboy replied, not wanting to have this conversation, seeing as he and Black Canary had the same a week ago. Supergirl was shocked at first that he was a clone, but after everything that went down today she accepted him. Simply because he helped her in the fight against her clone. I was going to say that I would help you, Supergirl said, shocking Superboy. Why? I mean, I'm sure you have something else to do besides teach me. Superboy remarked. Clone or not, the minute I saw you wear the emblem was the minute I knew I could trust you. Unless you're Bizarro's son, which I highly doubt since you don't look like him, Supergirl explained while thinking about Bizarro for a few seconds and imagining him having a son. Sounds good to me, Superboy replied in a happy tone, seeing as he was finally getting a person who could relate to him power-wise to teach him. Good to hear. Besides, I always wanted a brother. Anyway, the next time you're in Metropolis, look me up, alright? Supergirl said before flying up into the air as Question approached the boy. What was that about? He asked the clone, who was smiling a bit. Training, Superboy answered before going to the bio ship with Supergirl. She was currently flying around Metropolis. She had a lot of thoughts on her mind. Clark, there was another Kryptonian on Earth and you didn't tell me. I wonder what else you're not telling me, Clark. She thought to herself before letting out a sigh. Never fly angry, at least that's what Hawkgirl told her. Who were those other heroes with Question and Arrow? I think it's time I see Uncle Bruce for some answers. She though. Once again before landing outside her home at the Kent's household. Mount Justice. September 12, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Batman was typing on the computer in the base. He was thinking about what Cadmus and STAR Labs were planning. He had only a few answers but a lot of questions. He was brought out of his thoughts when he heard footsteps advance towards him. He turned around and saw it was none other than Question. You knew that she would accept him, didn't you? Question asked the Dark Knight. What are you talking about, Question? Batman replied coolly. Supergirl accepting Superboy. You knew she always had a soft side. Question stated. I didn't think she would accept him that quick. Batman said truthfully. He had taken a gamble with it and it worked. So when are you going to tell the other Kryptonian? Question asked, referring to Superman himself. Not now, but truthfully I don't think he would accept him. Batman answered. You know Supergirl is probably going to visit you soon, right? Question asked once again. I know, and I'm already prepared for it. Batman replied before getting up and heading towards the hangar. He had to get back to the Batcave. It was a better place to think without being interrupted. Doesn't he know it's rude to leave when someone's talking to you? Then again, he is Batman after all. Question muttered to himself before leaving out the room himself. He wondered what Huntress was doing at this hour. It was nighttime in Star City. At the moment an underworld kingpin known as Brick was currently picking up a shipment. Not knowing that this simple pickup was about to go terribly wrong. "We're halfway there, guys," Brick stated while watching his men work at loading a few briefcases into his truck. "I just hope Speedy doesn't try to come ruin my plans again. This would make it the third time this month," Brick thought to himself while thinking of Green Arrow's ward. Since when did he decide to go solo? With Ghost. At the moment Ghost was hiding in one of the upper levels in the shipyard area. Right now he was on watch duty along with Aqualad, Superboy, and Miss Martian. This mission was supposed to be a simple arrest mission, but a few things changed the priority of this mission. From what Huntress told them, multiple crime bosses have been found dead over the past 5 days. The cause of their death was unknown. So Red X and Cheshire were now in Gotham trying to figure out what caused them to die. He was brought out his thoughts when he heard his comm link go off. "Ghost here," he said, waiting for a reply. "How are things on your end?" Aqualad asked the shinobi. "Pretty good so far. Nothing to," Ghost started before he saw a person sprint past him. "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you," Aqualad replied. "Hey Aqualad, when did we get a new teammate?" Ghost asked while looking at a teenager wearing a red costume along with yellow gloves and yellow boots. He saw he wore a domino mask and had a red bow in his hands while a red quiver was on his back. "New teammate? I don't think we have one," Aqualad answered as Batman didn't tell them about a new team member joining in the briefing. "Then who's the guy with a red bow and arrow then?" Ghost asked while watching the person get into a position. "Red bow and arrow," Aqualad said to himself before coming to an conclusion. "That must be Speedy. Speedy. So he was Flash's sidekick then." Ghost guessed as he had been reading up on a few of the major heroes. "No, Kid Flash is Flash's sidekick. Speedy was once Green Arrow's sidekick," Aqualad explained. "Doesn't make sense, but alright," Ghost replied. "What is he doing now?" Aqualad asked. Ghost saw that he was pulling out an arrow from his quiver. "Looks like he's about to shoot," Ghost answered, seeing Speedy narrow his eyes at his target. "Get ready to move," Aqualad replied as Speedy fired the arrow at the ground, which caused smoke to be released. Brick immediately grabbed a briefcase and opened it up to reveal a black handgun which was glowing red. He pointed the gun upwards until he saw his target. "You again," Brick shouted while looking at the young archer. "I'm starting to get insulted that Green Arrow is not messing up my operation personally," he said before shooting at the teenager who started to run across the different structures. "I hear explosions. Do we need to move in?" Superboy asked from his Loka Tion, which was on the ground level behind a few crates. "It appears Speedy is able to handle Brick," Aqualad commented, seeing the archer shoot an arrow at the gun before it exploded, which caused Brick's shirt to rip. "Do you know what I pay for a suit my size?" Brick asked in an angry tone. "Scorch the earth," he ordered his men, who at the moment were on the ground. "What the hell are you guys doing?" Brick questioned as they didn't move an inch. "What the heck?" Speedy muttered to himself as his henchmen were up a few seconds ago. "I sense another person in the area. Move in." Miss Martian Street aided to the trio who came out of their hiding places. "More sidekicks," Brick said in disbelief while looking at Speedy, who was now on the ground floor looking at the newcomers with a confused face. "I didn't call for backup," Speedy replied while looking at the new people. "I didn't even know I had backup." "We're not your backup. We have bigger fish to fry," Superboy said to the archer. "Then why are you here?" Brick asked before being sent flying forward. "That's why," Ghost replied as they were now staring at a person wearing a black cloak which covered their form. "Who is that?" Speed Y asked while preparing himself to shoot an arrow if need be. "I don't know," Aqualad answered before the cloaked person sprinted towards Superboy, who was ready for the attack. The cloaked person hit Superboy in both his arms at a fast speed. Superboy tried to move his arms but couldn't. "Attack," Aqualad ordered as he tried to fight the person up close, only to be kicked in the head. That kick caused Aqualad to fall to the ground. Miss Martian helped Superboy and Aqualad. "Leave whoever this is to me," Ghost stated as Miss Martian started to analyze what just happened in the manner of seconds. "I'll cover you," Speedy said to Miss Martian, who was trying to help her teammates. She nodded at the archer's assistance. "You and me," Ghost stated to the cloaked person who tried to hit Ghost with multiple fast-paced strikes. While dodging them, he was reminded of a fight from his past. Whoever they are, they fight like an edgy. He thought before going on the offensive. Ghost was trying different combinations only to see none of them work. In moves like Hinata, a dangerous combination, Naruto thought while trying to hit his opponent with a punch only to have them not only dodge it but hit him with a palm thrust in the stomach. Is this person a Uchiha? Naruto thought while regaining his breath. His opponent had jumped over him and was making a beeline to Brick, who was now in his truck and driving away. Later, kids, he shouted while driving away. The mysterious opponent saw no need to stay and left the area. Ghost decided not to pursue his opponent and help his teammates. You guys okay? Ghost asked as Aqualad was just getting up from that powerful roundhouse kick his opponent gave him. I'm fine. Head hurts a bit, Aqualad answered while grabbing the spot their mysterious opponent kicked him at. I can't move my arms. How did they do that? Superboy asked, having no success in moving his limbs. Pressure points, Ghost replied before channeling chakra into his fingers and poking his arms for a bit. A few seconds later Superboy could move his arms again. Who are you guys anyway? Did Green Arrow send you guys? Speedy asked, wanting to know why they were here in the first place. We have to go, Speedy. We have more pressing matters to attend to. I'm sure you understand, Miss Martian answered as the bio ship appeared above them as 4 lines came from the ship. Later, Ghost said before they each grabbed the line which pulled them up. A minute later they were gone from Star City. Why do I have the feeling that I'll be seeing them more in the future? Speedy thought to himself before going to his motorcycle and leaving the area. Gotham City, November 17, 11:30 p.m. Est. Cheshire and Red X were currently at Gotham City morgue. The two were able to break in no problem. And right now they were searching for a few corpses. Here we are, Red X stated while looking at the small identification tag on the corpse which was stored on a wall. Well, pull it out then. Cheshi replied as Red X pulled the bed out to reveal a 45-year-old man. They were staring at the body of a Gotham mobster who met his demise a few days ago. So what are we looking for? Red X asked while looking at the body. The cause of death, Cheshire answered while looking at the body with a critical eye. I don't see anything, Red X replied before looking away at the body. Found it, Cheshire stated, getting Red X's attention. So how did they die then? Red X asked before Cheshire pointed at their neck. Internal bleeding. They were killed by an assassin from the League of Shadows. Cheshire explained. You can tell all that by just looking at their neck. Red X asked, getting a nod from the former assassin. I used to be an assassin after all. I think I may know who did this, but I need to see more bodies before I make my conclusion. Cheshire answered before pushing the bed the body was on back into the wall. Red X heard the sound of heels hitting the floor. I don't think we have that time, Cheshire. Red X stated as the two got out of there before a few people came in. Well, let's get to work then. One person announced as they group of 5 got to work. Mount Justice, November 18, 9:30 a.m. Est. Morning training had just ended at Mount Justice. Right now Connor, Naruto, Megan, and Calder were resting. Huntress had them running a few team drills this morning. You guys are getting good, Huntress commented after seeing their last team effort. It almost caught her, but her experience came into play. Thanks, Connor replied before taking a sip of water. So any idea who our mysterious opponent might be? Huntress asked the group of 4. No clue. Whoever they are, they're very skilled, Naruto answered, getting a nod from Huntress. I would guess, seeing as they took Connor and Calder out quickly. Huntress replied while remembering the briefing the team gave her this morning. It was like they knew what I was going to do. Like they were in control the whole entire time, Naruto stated as Huntress was shocked. Out of the current group, Naruto and Jade were ranked the highest in hand-to-hand combat, with Jade having a slight advantage over Naruto due to her body being trained for speed, while Naruto's body was trained for strength. Most of their fights would end up with either Naruto overpowering Jade or Jade quickly ending the fight before Naruto could get going. Control the fight. That's what I've been telling you, Black Canary announced while walking into the room. That doesn't work for me. No offense, but I was trained differently, Naruto replied as Black Canary could understand that. So were Jade and Grant successful in their mission? Megan asked the 2 supervisors. They called in this morning saying they needed more time. It seems Jade is onto something but wants to get more evidence before making a conclusion, Black Canary stated to the group of 4 who nodded. So I heard you guys ran into Speedy. How did he do? Huntress questioned the team. It was more he ran into us. Based on his strategy he could have succeeded. I have a feeling that since he fought Brick before he knew how to take him down. Aqualad explained. So what if he were to join the team? Black Canary asked the group of 4. I think he would prefer to be more of a part-timer. Megan answered. How would you know? Huntress asked the Martian. I've read his mind along with our mysterious opponent. It appears Speedy wanted to know more of us but didn't want to ask. When I read our opponent's mind, I didn't receive anything. I couldn't even get a name. Megan answered once again. Maybe they don't have one. Connor guessed as Red Tornado came into the room. There appears to be some sort of gathering at the Happy Harbor power plant. I want you 4 to investigate it. Red Tornado stated to the group who nodded. Let's move guys. Naruto said before the teenagers left the room. So do you think our new person will appear? Huntress asked the robot. I am not sure but whoever they are. I am sure they can handle it. Red Tornado answered. Happy Harbor power plant. 10:05 a.m. Est. The group of 4 were currently hovering over the Happy Harbor power plant. From the people in suits surrounding the building you could guess something big was about to go down. So why would they choose a power plant to have a meeting again? Naruto asked his friends. That's just how some mobsters operate. In this case it appears to be Cobra is meeting with someone. Aqualad replied while looking at a person wearing a green cloak with the Cobra symbol on the back walk into the building. So what should we do then? Superboy asked. Naruto, you and Miss Martian go investigate up close. Superboy and I will stay outside. Aqualad informed the group how nodded. Henshin. Naruto muttered as his ghost costume was on while Megan's stealth suit appeared. The ship is still in stealth mode still. If you need to land the ship press the blue button. Miss Martian informed the 2 who nodded. Let's move Megan. Ghost stated as a hole appeared on the ship. Ghost jumped and went through the hole while Miss Martian followed him. Let's scan the area just in case our mysterious friend makes an appearance. Aqualad said as Superboy took the wheel of the ship. With Ghost and Miss Martian. The 2 landed on the roof. There were a few guards on patrol but the 2 were able to knock them out quickly. Right now the 2 were now inside the power plant watching some type of deal go down. They 2 groups were sitting at a table talking. So the League of Shadows will be a BLE to provide protection for the Cobra scientist. The person in the Cobra cloak asked. Indeed. I have it in writing right here. A man in a blue suit replied while holding up the sheet of paper for everyone to see. Ghost, Miss Martian, come in. The 2 heard Aqualad's voice come from their separate comm link. We're both here Aqualad. Miss Martian replied. There appears to be a tornado coming your way. Aqualad informed the 2. Where are you 2? Ghost asked. Landing the ship. Aqualad answered as the 2 heard a table break. Their attention returned to the deal as they saw a person had gone through a table. Who did that? The Cobra member shouted seeing one of his guards through a table as a powerful gust blew the doors to the power plant open. Am I late for the meeting? A person asked in a gentleman tone. The group of people were now staring at a person who looked like Red Tornado except he had a black line going from his head to his torso. They also had blue cords that reminded the group of Bane as he had a brown scarf wrapped across his lower face. Who are you? The person in the blue suit asked. I apologize. You may address me as Mr. Twister. He stated before, re-waving his arms forward which sent a gust of wind towards the group. Okay Miss Martian, I see our mysterious person. Ghost said while looking at a person in a black cloak making their way towards the person in the blue suit silently. And apparently Mr. Twister is out to kill the Cobra member. Miss Martian replied while seeing that his wind attacks were going to the person in the Cobra cloak. You save the Cobra member. I'll stop the assassination. Ghost ordered as the 2 went into action. Miss Martian used her telekinesis powers to push Mr. Twister out of the way. The Red Tornado copy was sent flying a bit. Who dares to fight me? He announced while looking for his new opponent. Getting no response he decided to go back to his main objective. Rematch. Ghost proclaimed why. Jumping down onto the cloaked person who was shocked to see Ghost. The silent assassin almost got me. The person in the blue suit said in shock that he was almost dead if this person didn't interfere. Now run away. Ghost shouted while blocking the cloaked person's assault. Unlike their last battle Ghost was ready. We'll see you on Santa Prisca December 8 then. The person in the blue suit announced before leaving the area. Let's take this outside, Ghost said before running outside with his opponent right behind him. He guessed they wanted to kill him. Move, Ghost, a voice shouted as Ghost jumped high into the air as the mysterious person was hit with a blast of water which sent them flying back into the power plant. I think they were going to kill me, Aqualad. Thanks for the assist, Ghost replied while looking at Mr. Twister, who sent Superboy flying out the building and landed a few feet behind them. Miss Martian came over to her teammates. So this was the person hitting me, Mr. Twister said while looking at Miss Martian, who wasn't camouflaged anymore. Don't you know it's not right to hit a lady? Aqualad replied, getting Mr. Twister's attention. There are more of you. Fantastic, Mr. Twister stated as two twisters wrapped around his hands. When I tell you to run, we run as fast as we can to the ship, Ghost said to the group, who nodded. So you think you can take me on? Mr. Twister asked the man in the mask. Of course, Ghost answered while going through multiple hand signs before stopping at one in particular. Then come on, Mr. Twister replied as four twisters surrounded him. As Ghost threw a medium-sized ball of wind which went sailing towards Mr. Twister at a fast speed. Run, Ghost shouted as they started to run towards the ship. Running away. How childish, Mr. Twister commented while seeing the medium-sized ball of wind come towards him. He wasn't worried about the ball of wind, seeing as his twisters would protect him. The ship's coming towards us, Ghost. Get ready to jump, Miss Martian replied as they got into the ship right before the ball landed right in front of Mr. Twister. The ball of wind unleashed a powerful dome of wind which blew Mr. Twister along with parts of the trees and ground in the area back. What the heck was that? Superboy asked as the ship was hit with a gust of wind from Ghost attack. A wind technique called pressure damage. I really don't using techniques like those except in huge open spaces, as you can see they cause a lot of damage, Ghost answered while looking at the winds which had finally died down. The trio saw the damage the wind technique did. Multiple trees were scattered along with parts of the ground. They can see why Naruto needed huge spaces to use techniques like that. They were brought out of their thoughts when a beep went off. What is going on out there? Huntress asked through the radio. The older heroes were observing the scene from Mount Justice. They were shocked when a powerful torrent of wind caused so much damage. We're on our way back now. We also figured out who our mysterious person is, Aqualad answered. Cheshire and Red X know who it is as well, Huntress replied as the bio ship made its way back to Mount Justice. Mount Justice, 11:43 a.m. Est. At the moment the group of four were now back at their headquarters. At the moment ES Hire was in front of a monitor while Red X was sitting in a chair. Good, everyone is here, Red Tornado announced as himself, Huntress, Black Canary, and Batman came into the room. So who is this mysterious person? Huntress asked with interest in her voice as a picture of a girl with short black hair came on screen. Our person is Cassandra Cain. She used to be Ra's al Ghul's bodyguard. They led her multiple names in the League of Shadows, but one name stands out the most. The Silent Assassin, Cheshire explained the group. Why the Silent Assassin? Ghost asked. She doesn't talk, Cheshire answered. So how was she able to read ghost movement then? Miss Martian asked. She was raised that way from what Sensei told me. Cassandra was not taught to speak. Instead, the parts of her brain normally used for speech were trained so she could read other people's movements and body language perfectly. Cheshire explained as Naruto thought about Rock Lee, a person who overcame his own handicap. So why is she killing mobsters then? Batman asked, not understanding her motivation. Because she has a death wish. She wants someone who she deems worth to kill her. Cheshire answered, shocking everyone in the room. We have to save her then, Ghost stated to everyone in the room. Not everyone can be saved, Ghost, Huntress replied, causing Ghost to chuckle a bit. I guess they haven't met me then, Ghost said before disappearing in a yellow flash, shocking everyone in the room. Where did he go? Batman asked as no one knew where he went. He's going to save her, Batman. If he is, then I'm going, Cheshire answered in a resolved tone. We need you here, Cheshire, Red Tornado said. I know, but she's my friend, Cheshire replied before leaving the room. Let's move, guys, Red X said as the rest of the young heroes left the room. Kids these days, huh? Black Canary commented, seeing them leave the room. The trials that will make their bonds grow even more, Red Tornado said as but ma. N was in heavy though about what just happened. With Ghost. 12:15 p.m. Est. He was now on a rooftop fighting Cassandra Cain. He was able to place a Hiraishan marker on her cloak during their last battle. He was shocked to see that was here, but she pushed those thoughts aside. Right now she was going to have someone finally give her what she wanted. An honorable death. I'm not here to kill you, Cassandra. I want to help you. Ghost said while dodging her punches. Cassandra was shocked. Someone had actually wanted to help her. She was about to stop when she heard more footsteps approach the two. She turned and saw Cheshire, who also escaped the League of Shadows. He's right, Cassandra. I know I should have been a better friend, but dying is not going to solve anything. Cheshire stated to Cassandra, who shook her head no. Stubborn. Superboy commented as Cassandra continued her battle with Ghost. No choice then. Ghost replied as he disappeared and reappeared behind Cassandra. He hit her with a powerful hit to the neck which knocked her out. Take her to the ship, Miss Martian. Ghost ordered as Miss Martian picked Cassandra's body up and took her to the ship. So why was she still in Happy Harbor Town? Red X asked as a powerful gust of wind blew them back. It may have been because of me, of course. Mr. Twister announced while landing on the rooftop. So what is your problem with Cobra and the League of Shadows anyway? Red X asked while pulling out AX Shuriken. My employer wants me to stop them. Plain and simple. Mr. Twister answered. Your employer wouldn't happen to be Cadmus now, would it? Aqualad asked, getting no answer from Mr. Twister. Outsiders. Let's make this showy. Red X announced before throwing his X Shuriken, which emitted smoke while soaring through the air. Mr. Twister used his wind manipulation to blow the smoke away. Childish indeed. Mr. Twister muttered to himself as he saw that only Cheshire was left. I heard that. Cheshire said before jumping to another roof. I will play this childish game for now. Mr. Twister replied while following Cheshire towards the pier. Cheshire was now facing Mr. Twister, who now had small Twister wrapped around his hands. Time to die, child. Mr. Twister shouted before bringing his arms forward. Superboy immediately punched Mr. Twister a couple of times before sending him into the air, where Red X threw two explosive X's which exploded and sent him into the water. Once underwater, was able to use a metal rod and his electricity manipulation to shock Mr. Twister, which sent him back onto the pier. Miss Martian had contacted them when they left the rooftop that Mr. Twister was indeed a robot, seeing as she tried to read his mind earlier and had a similar result as to when she read Red Tornado's mind. Ghost the scroll. Cheshire stated as Ghost was able to seal what was left of Mr. Twister into a large scroll. Showy indeed. Red X commented, seeing the plan worked out great. Let's get back to base. I'm sure Cassandra won't stay down for long. Ghost stated as the bio ship appeared above them. Mount Justice. 3:35 p.m. Est. Right now Cassandra Cain was just waking up. She looked around and saw that she was on a medical bed. Cheshire had entered the room and saw she was moving around. She's awake. Cheshire announced as Ghost and Batman came into the room. Everyone else at the moment was trying to disassemble Mr. Twister. So far they were able to open his torso, which revealed a man who had brown hair and was wearing a green and white jumpsuit. Huntress D taken the man into their interrogation room and was trying to get some information from him. Can you two leave us? Batman stated to Ghost and Cheshire, who were about to protest, but a serious glare from Batman sent them out the room. Now Cassandra, I have an offer for you, but it is up to you if you want to accept it or not. Batman said to the black-haired girl, who nodded. At this point she D nothing to lose, so why not hear the legendary Dark Knight out? Naruto was currently walking around Happy Harbor Town. He was in his exercise cloths, which consisted of a pair of black sweatpants, a tight dark orange shirt, a black jacket, and a pair of tennis shoes. He had just finished his jog around town and was about to go to the Sandbar Internet Cafe to get something to drink before going back to his house, which he shared with Jade and Grant. He was about to turn the corner when someone ran into him full force, causing him to fall, with the person who hit him on top of him. I am so sorry. A female voice stated while quickly getting up. It's all right. I've been hit harder. Naruto replied coolly before getting to his feet. He was now staring at a teenage girl who had long blonde hair which was in a ponytail. She was wearing baggy gray sweatpants, a tight green shirt, a big gray jacket, and a pair of tennis shoes. Naruto guessed she too was jogging around town. Where are my manners? My name is Artemis Croc. she said while extending her hand. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto answered while shaking her hand. So are you from around here? Artemis asked her fellow blonde. Just moved here about a month ago. What about you? Naruto replied. I'll be here for about a month or so. Depending on how long my job wants me here. Artemis answered. So what exactly is your job? Naruto asked in a curious tone. I'm doing photography for a traveler's magazine. The company usually sends about 3 of us to a large or small town and we pretty much find interesting things about the town. Artemis explained, getting a nod from Naruto. Well, I'm about to be a published author. So I guess we go hand in hand, huh? Naruto replied, getting a giggle out of Artemis. Indeed we do. Hey, are you doing anything next week? Artemis asked as Naruto thought about his schedule for a few seconds. Nothing so far. I may have to meet with my publisher soon though. Naruto answered as Artemis nodded. Well, I was wondering if you and me could go out on a date around town. Artemis stated, shocking Naruto. Someone wanted to go out on a date with him. Usually he had to ask a girl out, but I guess that's why. T makes this world different from his own. Sure, I'm up for it, Naruto replied. Do you have a cell phone? Artemis asked as Naruto pulled out a black cell phone. Grant was able to get him one a few days ago. Let me give you my number so you can call me if something changes. Artemis said as she put her number into Naruto's phone. So is it alright if we meet up at the Sandbar Cafe next Monday? Naruto asked, getting a nod from Artemis. Sounds perfect, she answered before giving Naruto his phone back. It was nice meeting you, Artemis. Naruto said. Same here, Naruto. Artemis replied before continuing her jog around town. A good morning indeed, Naruto thought to himself as his cell phone started to ring. He saw it was Grant and answered it, hoping that it wasn't another mission. Hello, Naruto said, starting off the conversation. Naruto, I need you to come back to the house at once. It's important, Grant said in an urgent tone. I'm on my way, Naruto replied before hanging up the phone. He went into an alley and looked around to make sure no one was watching before disappearing in a yellow flash. A few seconds later he appeared in the living room of the house he shared with Grant and Jade. He looked around and saw the entire team was there wearing their civilian attires. So what's up, Grant? Naruto asked, wanting to know what was about to happen. You have to take my sister out around town today. Grant informed Naruto, who was angry. You said it was urgent. Naruto replied in an angry tone. Yeah, she should be here in about 5 minutes or so. Grant replied coolly. Why couldn't Jade take her? Naruto asked. I'm not going to unleash 2 girls with debit cards a full day at Happy Harbor Mall. That's crazy, Grant answered as Naruto nodded. He had once been dragged to the mall with Ino and Sakura. It wasn't great at all. Okay then, how about Megan or Calder? Naruto asked once again, wanting to know their excuse for not taking Grant's sister around town today. Uncle Jean is teaching me about my powers today and I can't miss that. Megan said, speaking for herself. As Jean could only visit her so often, so he understood. I have an interview at Happy Harbor High School today. I'm trying to become the assistant swim coach. Calder answered in an excited tone. Wouldn't that be cheating? I mean, after all, you're an Atlantean after all. Naruto said. It's not like I'm actually swimming for the team. I'm just trying to help them out. Calder replied. If you want my excuse. Well, I just didn't want to. Connor answered, getting a glare from Naruto as there was a knock on the door. Come in, Grant called out as the door opened to reveal a girl with blue eyes and medium-length white hair. Her attire was a black blouse, a pair of blue jeans, a blue jacket, and black tennis shoes. As she had a silver book bag slung over her shoulder. This was none other than Rose Wilson. Bro, she shouted before giving Grant a hug. Long time no see, Grant replied. Before breaking the hug, as a few seconds later a man wearing a black suit walked into the house. From the look of it, he was stuck carrying the bags. Master Grant, a little help here, the man said as Naruto and Connor went to help him with the bags. I told you, Wintergreen, you can just call me Grant. Grant replied before hugging Wintergreen. In dishonor, you know who. I couldn't do that, Green said before breaking the hug and putting the bags down. Okay guys. Wintergreen and Rose, I want to introduce you to my friends. Grant stated as the rest of the outsiders lined up on the other side of the room. You guys already know Jade. Grant said, getting a nod from both Wintergreen and Rose. This is Megan, he said, pointing to the Caucasian girl with long red hair. Calder, he said, before pointing to the African American. Connor, he said while pointing to the third male. Last but not least, Naruto. Grant finished while pointing to the blonde. Grant, you didn't say your sister was beautiful. Connor said as Megan glared at him for a few seconds. Of course not. I'm her big brother after all. She looks ugly to me. Grant replied before getting hit by not only Jade but Rose as well. So what are we doing today? Rose asked before putting her book bag down. Naruto here is going to show you around town. Grant answered as Rose nodded at the idea. Let me go take a quick shower and we can go. Naruto stated as he went upstairs to take a shower. 20 minutes later he came back down in his civilian attire, which now included a silver jacket. So what is Wintergreen doing today? Naruto asked Grant. I will be going to the local play today, Mr. Naruto. Wintergreen answered. The one with the plot twist at the end? Grant asked, getting a nod from his former butler. Are you still into theater, Master Grant? Wintergreen said, getting a head shake no from Grant. Theater? Grant, you must be joking. Jade replied. Master Grant always liked the theater. I used to take him every Sunday. Wintergreen stated as the outsiders were shocked. The Thief of Jump City was into theater. You should have seen him in his first play. Rose added on before laughing. He forgot his lines, she said before laughing at the memory of a young Grant on stage trying to remember his lines. I improvised, didn't I? Grant said, causing Rose to laugh even more as Wintergreen even started to laugh. Keep telling yourself that, bro. As a matter of fact, I think I have the tape in my book bag. Rose replied as Grant decided that Rose had to go see the town before she brought up more embarrassing stories. Naruto, you and Rose leave now. Grant said in the last part in an angry tone as the two were now outside the house. So Naruto, what do you want to do first? Rose asked the blonde. Let's go get something to eat. I haven't been able to sit down for a meal. Naruto replied, getting a nod from Rose as the two made their way to the nearest restaurant. Happy Harbor Town Restaurant. 9:30 a.m. Est. The Happy Harbor Town Restaurant was a nice place. It appeared that everyone seemed to know everyone. It was located by the sea, so the place had a nice view. Right now Rose and Naruto were sitting down and reading the menu the waiter had given them. So Rose, where are you from? Naruto asked as Grant really wasn't the type of guy to talk about his family. Jump City, California. She answered as Naruto remembered his short time in Jump City. Making enemies with the Teen Titans on his second day in the world Madara teleported him to. I'm from Tokyo, Japan. Moved to America recently and I have to say I love it here. Naruto replied. Nice to know. Rose said before a loud boom occurred as the two were trying to see where it came from. Slade is back, a person shouted while running into the restaurant. Rose didn't believe him for a second until a person wearing a black jumpsuit with silver armor walked calmly into the building. Rose also saw the person was wearing a half black and half orange mask. No way, that's Dad. Tara killed him. Hell, I even saw the statue. Rose thought to herself while looking at the person dressed up as Slade. Good morning everyone, the person said in a calm tone. I am here to do a social experiment if you don't mind. I will be requiring a few volunteers. He stated as everyone was scared. The man who was thought to be dead was alive. Naruto, I have to go, Rose said before leaving the restaurant as the two were seated in the back of the restaurant so it was easy to get out. I'll take care of this guy, Naruto thought to himself before sneaking out of the restaurant. Henshin, Naruto muttered as his ghost attire was now on and was making his way back to the restaurant. With Rose, she felt bad for leaving Naruto at the restaurant B. There was a carbon copy of her father in the restaurant trying to conduct an social experiment. She wasn't about to let that happen. She was now in an alley which was a few buildings away from the restaurant. She pulled out a silver and blue phone and dialed a number as a few seconds later a silver belt buckle appeared around her waist. Henshin, she said before sliding the phone onto her B. Lieutenant Buckle is a blue light wrapped around her body for a few seconds before dying down to reveal Rose was now wearing a blue jumpsuit with black armor covering her shins, forearms, and shoulders. On her back were two swords which were in black sheaths, as her hands were covered by black and blue gloves. On her face was a black and blue mask. Rose Wilson wasn't here anymore. It was time for Ravager to fight. Time to stop this imposter. Rose thought to herself before making her way back to the restaurant. Happy Harbor Restaurant. 9:45 a.m. Est. No one had moved. They were too stunned to see a person. Ho was stated to have been killed back in the world of the living. Please not all at once now. Slade said in a cold tone he was known for. Sorry, but no one is going anywhere. Ghost stated as Slade turned around to see a costumed hero a few feet away from him. And who might you be exactly? Slade asked with interest in his tone. A ghost, he replied before appearing in front of Slade and tossing him outside. Everyone get out now, Ghost ordered as the townspeople left the restaurant. Looks like I'm going to have to settle for you then, Slade said calmly before standing up. How about me? A female voice asked while making her way onto the scene. Who knew I had a fan? Slade said while looking at the girl's armor. It was similar to his own but at the same time different. You work for him? Ghost asked the newcomer. Never, she replied coldly. Looks like I will have to do this the hard way then, Slade announced before snapping his fingers. Multiple white robots appeared from the ground surrounding Ghost and Ravager. Capture them, Slade ordered as the robots attacked the duo, who were able to take the robots down. A few robots no problem as the onslaught of robots continued. Interesting, Slade muttered to himself while watching the fight. I wonder how long they will last before the toxin starts to affect them. He pondered to himself while looking at his opponents who had a few scratches on them. I feel like I'm slowing down, Naruto thought to himself while ducking the last robot's attack. Must be a toxin, Rose concluded while feeling herself slowly falling to sleep. QB, do something, Naruto said before falling to sleep. 15 minutes. Interesting indeed, Slade said to himself before ordering his robots to grab the duo. The minute they did, the robots on with Slade left the area as a minute later Superboy along with Batman appeared over the scene in the Batwing. What happened? Superboy asked while looking at the multiple robots which were sliced in half on the ground. I don't know, but I plan on finding out, Batman replied before landing the Batwing and getting out the vehicle. Should I collect some of this? Superboy asked the Dark Knight, who was inspecting a white robot whose claws were dripping with a green substance. No, Batman answered before pulling out a small tube and collecting a few droppings from the substance. Unknown area. Ghost was starting to stir. The last thing he remembered was fighting a bunch of robots before falling asleep. He looked up and saw that he was in a cage with two females. One had long red hair and green eyes. The woman in front of him looked like a goddess, seeing as her body was very voluptuous. She was wearing a pair of green pants, green boots, green gloves that went to her forearm, and a green corset. The odd thing about her was that her skin was green. The other women in the cage had long black hair, purple eyes, and orange skin. Her attire was similar to Starfire's except it was silver and black. He's waking up, the green-skinned women said, informing who he guessed were others in the cage. Where am I? Ghost asked while getting to his feet. No one knows, kid, a deep male voice answered. Word as Ghost saw a muscular man wearing a black costume that was similar to a wrestler, as he had a black mask with white face paint on. The other ones waking up as well. The women with black hair stated, Bane, Poison Ivy, and Blackfire. What are you three doing here? Ravager asked in a confused tone while getting on her feet. I was attacked by some white robots. I destroyed all of them, but the next thing I know, I'm out like a light and I'm here, Bane explained as he was on Santa Prisca when the attack went down. A man gave me an offer that he was going to help me contact my sister without having to confront the Teen Titans, but it appears I was double-crossed. Blackfire answered as she had just landed outside of Jump City when the man made an offer to her. I was kidnapped. I was finally going to make a speech to Congress about how green energy could help the Earth, and the next thing I know I'm in here with Bane. Poison Ivy stated as she was actually trying to earn from her former life of being a villain. I call it abducting. Kidnapping is so childish, Poison Ivy, a cold voice stated, getting the group's attention. Slade, didn't you die? Bane said as he heard a rumor or two about his death. I cheated death, Bane. Something not many people can do. Slade replied. No one can cheat death, Ghost stated while narrowing his eyes. Please, child, Slade said in a calm tone. So why are we here? Blackfire asked in an angry tone. Calm down, Tamaranian. All will be explained. Slade answered. Let us out before I break us out. Bane treated only for Slade to chuckle at the comment. Bane, my boy, you do know that the collar I put on you is just not for show. Slade replied as they each had a collar on them. What do you want with us, Slade? Poison Ivy K. Styled in a calm tone, seeing as being angry would not help in this situation. I need your and Bane's expertises to help me with a project of mine. Once you two complete my project I will allow you to leave. Slade informed the group of 5. Then why do you need us 3 then? Ghost asked. Have you heard of the term test subjects, my boy? Slade answered before opening the cage they were in. Now I want you 5 to come out of my creative cage. Try anything and you will be in pain. I guarantee it, Slade stated in a cold tone as the group of 5 followed Slade around. They saw that they were in a huge warehouse and also noticed that there was advanced medical equipment in the area. Unlike most villains who would take the time to explain their plan in detail. I will not simple because I can sum it up in a few words, Slade said to the group. So what are you trying to do? Ravager asked. Evolve Bane's venom formula. Slade answered, getting a gasp from everyone except Ghost, who was still new to the world. Please Slade, there is no way you can evolve my venom. Bane replied in a confident tone. He was the one who created it after all. Of course I can, dear Bane. That is why you and Poison Ivy is here. You being the original person to create the venom along with Poison Ivy expertises in toxicology and botany. I believe I have the perfect combination. Slade explained to the group. You're working with Cobra, aren't you? Ghost concluded as Bane had made that guess as well, seeing as they did take Santa Prisca away from him a few weeks back. Look at the detective. Of course, I'm working with Cobra and the League of Shadows, but unlike those idiots, I have chosen the path less taken. Slade said before snapping his fingers as the ground opened up to reveal a mine with multiple people loading flowers into the crate before sending it up. As you can see, since you and your friend stopped me from gathering more workers. For now my test subjects will be working with my Mino RS until those 2 can create my final project. Slade explained before 3 white robots appeared and took Blackfire, Ghost, and Ravager to the mines. Leaving Bane and Poison Ivy to work in the lab. Mount Justice. 1:15 p.m. Est. At the moment Batman was looking at the substance on the computer. From the data he was able to receive, the liquid appeared to be an advanced sleeping drug. The effects seemed to respond over a set time depending on the person. He was brought out of his thoughts when Red X came into the room. What is it? Batman asked while looking up from the computer. Slade is back, Red X said in an angry tone. What do you mean back? Last time checked he was dead. Batman replied. Multiple witnesses have said Slade went into the Happy Harbor Town restaurant and was trying to do a social experiment with a few people. More witnesses say Ghost appeared and was able to create an opening in which the civilians were able to get to safety. Red X informed the Dark Knight, who nodded. So Slade kidnapped Ghost then? Batman concluded. They also said another female hero appeared and was kidnapped as well before you got there. Red X replied, causing Batman to think. Interesting, isn't it, Batman? Those 2 being kidnapped along with Dr. Pamela Isley, who was reported missing as of yesterday. A voice stated before walking towards the computer. The 2 saw that it was no other than Question. So what are your thoughts on this? Red X asked the man wearing the fedora. I say whoever is dressing up as Slade is playing a very dangerous game. Question answered before going to he computer and hitting a few keys on the keyboard as multiple missing reports appeared on screen. These reports are from the past week. Along with Ghost and Poison Ivy. Multiple people ranging from 10 to 40 are reported to have been missing. Some people are actually scientists working for Cadmus while others are working for STAR Labs. Question informed the 2. Do you think this has to do with Cobra trying to evolve the Bane formula? Red X asked the 2 heroes. If it is, then I feel sorry for Slade. He's the one stuck in the middle. Especially since Cadmus blames the League of Shadows for the loss of Superboy. There is going to be a burning at both ends for Slade eventually. Question answered. So where have most of these kidnapping take place? Red X asked as a map appeared on the monitor as multiple red circles started to appear on the map. They varied, but a majority are from Jump City. Batman answered while looking at the screen. Can we try to track Ghost Communicator? Red X asked as Cheshire came into the room. Huntress had informed her of what was going on a few minutes ago. I tried that multiple times but it appears that something is blocking it. Batman answered. Well, what makes Venom then? Cheshire asked as question started to type on the keyboard as a minute later a list came onto the screen. That's a long list. Red X commented seeing how many ingredients go into making Bane's venom. Wait, that fifth ingredient, that flower only grows in Gotham. Cheshire stated. So what is your point? Batman asked not seeing where it was going. There used to be a large underground cave that grew that particular flower. Cheshire answered as question clicked on the flower. Yes, but the cave was deemed unusable by the mayor a few years back due to Killer Croc. Batman replied. So what if Slade is just watching out for himself? Bane probably has seeds of that flower hidden somewhere before Killer Croc made his move. I mean, after all, the flower is highlighted on your list. So it has to be a main ingredient. Red X stated as question started to type on the keyboard as an image of a building was brought up. Someone built a warehouse over the cave. Batman informed the group. I never heard of the Wilson Foundation. Question commented while reading the information on the screen. Because there isn't one. Red X answered as that used to be the organization name his father used when buying new buildings or land. Red X, Cheshire. I want you two to investigate this building. I will also be in Gotham as well. I have a few people I need to see. Batman stated as the trio left, leaving the question alone. What is your game, Slade? Question asked himself before going over information they have on the masked criminal. Wilson Foundation Warehouse. 7:15 p.m. Est. At the current time, Ghost, Blackfire, and Ravager were picking flowers while Poison Ivy and Bane were finalizing a newly made formula for Slade to use. We have to get out of here. Ghost Y. Spurred to Blackfire and Ravager, who nodded in agreement. Tell me something I don't know. Blackfire replied. Any ideas? Ravager asked as Ghost had thought of a plan that could work. I have a plan, but I need everyone's cooperation though. Ghost answered, getting a nod from the two women. As long as your plan has a part when I'm able to pay back Slade. Then count me in. Blackfire replied as Ghost nodded. Okay then. I have a technique when I can generate electricity. I can use it to possibly discharge these collars. Once they're off, we can proceed to get the civilians out of here. Ghost explained to the two. While you two do that, I'll make sure Slade doesn't get away. Ravager replied, getting a look of confusion from Blackfire. Why should you get to fight Slade? Blackfire questioned, wondering why she should stop Slade. It's personal. Ravager replied in a cold tone. All the more reason for neither of you to take on Slade. Seeing as I'm the only one who is not fueled by anger here. Ghost stated as the two at first didn't want to admit it, but he was right. Anger did lead to mistakes, and in the fight that's the last thing you want to have. Fine then, the two girls said in unison as he was right. Okay, my miners. Back to your cage. Slade announced as his robots flew down and grabbed the miners and put all of them back into one cage. A few minutes later, Bane and Poison Ivy were back in the cage as well. Now I want everyone to get some rest. You all have a long day tomorrow. Slade stated as most of the tired miners went to sleep. So when can your plan start? BLACK Fire asked as Ghost was going through hand signs. Gather around me now. Ghost ordered as Poison Ivy, Bane, Ravager, and Blackfire gathered around Ghost. Lightning armor was the two words Ghost said before being engulfed in blue electricity as he quickly touched Poison Ivy, Bane, Blackfire, and Ravager's collar as the collars unlocked and fell onto the floor. The electricity that was once around Ghost was gone. What was that? Bane asked as he never saw something like that. Something I can only hold for a few seconds. Ghost answered. Bane, can you break the bars? Poison Ivy asked as Bane started to grin. Too easy. Bane replied as he easily bent the bars. Wake up. Blackfire shouted as the missing civilians woke up. Follow me and the women with black hair. We're getting you out of here. Ravager informed the civilians, who were happy to get out of this trap. Let yourself think that. Slade's cold voice echoed from the second floor of the warehouse. We'll take the civilians out. I know most of you may not trust a villain like myself, but right now I want to help you. Bane stated to the civilians, who nodded. Let's go, big guy. Poison Ivy said as the duo lead the civilians to a steel door. Bane turned a knob on his glove as a few seconds later his muscles expanded and he was able to break the door. Finding good volunteers is so hard to find these days. Slade complained as he saw Blackfire, Ravager, and Ghost make their way to his location. You're not going anywhere. Blackfire roared while flying towards Slade at a fast speed. Slade saw her coming and jumped over her only to be hit by a kick by Ravager which sent him back a bit. You're going to have to try harder than that. Slade taunted as he was punched in the face by Ghost whose punch sent his mask flying. The trio saw that instead of a face was a small monitor as another Slade appeared on screen. Congratulations are in order. You actually beat one of my Slade bots. You three impressed me, so being the good sport I am, I'm giving you 10 seconds before this entire place blows up. Slade stated as the number 10 appeared in red on the monitor. How are we going to get out of here in 10 seconds? Ravager asked. Grab me you two. Ghost ordered as he used a shushin to get them out of there just in time. Outside the warehouse, Bane and Poison Ivy were able to get the civilians out. They were about to go back in only to see the building explode. The civilians were scared that the other three who helped them escaped had died. We're okay. Ghost informed the group who were shocked. What just happened? Ravager asked in a confused tone. 1 second they were in the building and next they were outside. I used a technique of mine to follow the group Bane and Poison Ivy lead out. Ghost info. RMED the group as sirens could be heard coming towards the area. Poison Ivy, Blackfire, and the two new people. Get out of here. I'll take the rap for this one. Bane stated, shocking not only the pay. Opal he called but the civilians as well. But it wasn't your fault. A boy no older than 10 said. I know that kid, but let's face it. The town sees me as a bad guy and I can't escape that. Bane INF. Ormed the kid who was sad that he was going to jail for something another person did. Well, I'm going as well. Poison Ivy said. Do what you want, Ivy, but I want you three to promise me that you will catch Slade. Bane said in a serious tone as they could do nothing but nod. The police cars were now on the scene as Blackfire, Ghost, and Ravager were long gone. With Ghost, he was currently traveling with Blackfire and Ravager. The trio were now a few blocks away from the building. Ghost. A voice called out as the trio looked up to see Red X and Cheshire on top of a building. It appears they were heading to the warehouse they were just in. You're late, Ghost said as Red X and Cheshire jumped down from the roof. Who's your new friend? Red X asked while looking at Ravager with a critical eye. Ravager. She answered coolly. Can we please find Slade now? Blackfire said in an aggravated tone. We don't know where to start. I mean, we were just fighting a robot. He could be anywhere. Ghost replied. Well, I'm just going to have to stay with you then. Blackfire said, shocking everyone in the current group. What do you mean stay exactly? Ghost asked in an unsure voice. I'll be living with you until we capture Slade, of course. Blackfire said in a serious tone. Not my decision. Ghost replied. Then who is it's then? Blackfire asked. Mine. A cold voice stated from above them as they all saw Batman land on the ground. Well then, I want to stay with you until we capture Slade. Blackfire said to the Dark Knight who was looking at her with a critical eye. Why should I allow you to stay? After all, you were a villain to the Teen Titans after all. Batman replied to the alien. I'm changing, all right. Blackfire replied quickly before taking a breath to regain her composure. Quote, look, after I was banished from my planet by my own sister, I had a lot of time to think about my life, my decisions, and my future. I decided to reform and I wanted to inform my sister about decision. But knew that the Teen Titans would get in the way. I know if it were up to Starfire, she would have came to hear what I had to say. She explained to the group. How would you know your sister would hear what you had to say? Batman questioned the black-haired alien who smirked at the question. That's just the type of person my sister is. Blackfire answered while looking Batman in the eye. Not backing down one bit. Batman was shocked to see such determination in a person's eyes. The last person who looked at him like that was his former ward. You will be monitored until I deem you trustworthy. Batman replied as Blackfire nodded in agreement. What about you? Red X asked Ravager. I have to get back to Happy Harbor Town. I have business to finish there. Ravager answered. Good thing we brought the bio ship. Cheshire commented. You five go back to Happy Harbor Town. Drop Ravager off at her destination and take Blackfire back to our base. Inform Jean about the recent events. He shish. Old still be there, if not then tell Red Tornado or Huntress. Batman ordered, getting a nod from Cheshire. Let's move out, people. Red X said as he led them to the bio ship. I need to talk to Jim about a few recent events. Batman thought to himself before seeing the bat signal in the air. Looks like he beat me to the punch. He thought to himself before pulling out a grappling hook and shooting it towards the nearest building and headed towards the bat signal's location. Happy Harbor Town, November 24, 10:15 Est. After dropping of Ravager near the Happy Harbor Town restaurant, the group of four went back to Mount Justice. The rest of the outsiders were waiting for them to return. The trio introduced Blackfire to the team. Jean was also present, so he was informed about the recent events in W. Batman had stated about monitoring Blackfire until she could be trusted. Airport, November 27, 9 a.m. Est. Rose and Wintergreen were going back to Jump City. Visiting for a 3-day weekend was nice. They were hoping that they could do it again someday. At the moment, Grant, Naruto, and Jade were saying goodbye to the two visitors. So long, Master Grant. We will try to visit you again if the weather permits. Wintergreen stated as winter was just around the corner and flights were usually cancelled due to the weather. No problem, Wintergreen. Next time I'll try to come visit you in Jump City. Grant replied. You never did finish taking me around town, Naruto. Rose said to the blonde. Maybe next time you come back. Naruto replied, getting a nod from Rose. Consider it a date then. Come on, Wintergreen, before we miss our flight. Rose said before going to the terminal. We'll keep in contact, Master Grant. Wintergreen replied before going to the terminal as well. Nice family. Naruto commented. You don't know half of it, Naruto. Now what's this about a date with a girl named Artemis? Grant asked, shocking Naruto along with Jade. I hope it's not the Artemis I know. Jade thought to herself while remembering her former best friend, the blonde-haired girl whose father put her into the League of Shadows at a young age. Jade, are you in there? Grant asked the former assassin. I'm here, Grant. I was just thinking, that's all. Jade answered. Well, let's get back to base. I have a feeling that today's sparring session is going to be interesting today. Naruto stated as the trio made their way back to Mount Justice. Unknown location. Unknown time and date. At the moment, Professor Hamilton along with the head of Cadmus, Amanda Waller, were currently in a meeting with a few of the Cadmus and STAR board directors. Before they could begin their meeting, Slade had walked into the room. Everyone in the room was shocked. The rumors about Slade being alive was true and he was standing right before them. Aren't you supposed to be dead? Amanda questioned. I am one of the few people who can cheat death, Amanda. Slade answered coldly. So why are you here then? Professor Hamilton asked. Ed, the masked man who held out a silver vial. I am here to offer you a business proposal. Slade replied while twirling the silver vial. Business. Please, like we want to associate with the likes of you. Amanda said, voicing her opinion. What if I told you I knew what the League of Shadows were up to? Slade asked the group of people who were whispering among themselves for a few seconds. We whoa. I'd like to hear what you have to say then, Slade. Amanda replied. Please, he said while holding his hand up as to pause her. Call me Deathstroke for now on. He stated to the group of people who were eager to hear his information. The end. Thanks for watching. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.